a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville, you had the fastest car, and people said you were going to get your first win, but it didn't happen. Could it happen today, the final short track race of the year?
Well, I sure think it could. The Derek Hamilton Ford Thunderbird's been running good. We've been qualified well. We've been real close to winning races at a number of places, and we'll just have to see what happens here today. You know, the track conditions are just a little different from what they would normally be. I think the track's a little bit cleaner than what you normally see. Normally there's a little more oil and grease and a little slipperier than what we have here today. We got a pretty green track to start with.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Alan. We'll let you go, and we'll talk to you later on in the day.
Thank you.
We'll go inside the in-car camera now. Inside the Hardee's Oldsmobile, that is Dale Jarrett. He is starting back in 19th spot. In the Hardee's race cam, you see the Citgo Ford of Kyle Petty. There's the Kroger car of Ernie Irvin, the rookie driver that's in front of Dale Jarrett. We'll talk about Ernie later on. He is closing in on that rookie battle with Kenny Bouchard. As we watch back and forth, as saw in the steering wheel there, Dale Jarrett getting ready for the green flag up front. And back in the back, there is Darrell Waltrip starting back in the pack. Waltrip will make his rocket run to the front, starting back in 21st spot. And alongside him, back there as well, Dale Earnhardt starting 22nd. The poorest start, it equals the poorest start of Earnhardt this year. He started 22nd back at Rockingham and finished 5th.
Well, Jerry, they have a long way to go to get up through the pack, and that's tough on a short track. There are a lot of cars that are running awfully close together. We clocked a lot of the cars yesterday afternoon in the 2-hour practice run they did have, and it looked to me like there were at least 12 or 15 drivers that were equal as far as speed is concerned, and that makes it very tough to pass on this racetrack.
Well, you're right about that, Ned. You know, North Wilkesboro is a tight bull ring. It's really one of the last or the few remaining short tracks on the Winston Cup circuit, and it is so tough to pass, and especially in today's environment, the cars are so equally matched.
Safety car leads the field down the back straightaway. Bill Elliott trying to get his second short track win of the year and set a record for Ford. Ford has never won 3 short track events in the modern era of NASCAR and Winston Cup racing dating back to 1971. The last person to win from the pole here was Darrell Waltrip back in 1984, driving the Junior Johnson Chevrolet. Ready for the green flag as Harold Kinder holds them down on a turn 4, and Elliott will lead the charge. Elliott and Politi in the turn 1. Elliott has a half a car length advantage out of turn 1. Schrader slipping and sliding, but hangs on to it, and Politi will lead second spot by 2 car lengths in turn 3. Elliott the leader, Politi is second, Schrader third, and Ricky Rudd is fourth.
Mark Martin got awfully loose down the front straightaway as one car bumped him as he came off of turn 4. Of course, we see a lot of that on the short tracks.
Single file racing now off the back straightaway. Bill Elliott leading the charge, and cars already on the move. Phil Parsons on the outside of the back straightaway. There's Elliott leading the way. Early on, these drivers will be taking advantage of some early lap going to school session.
Well, that was a real good shot coming off of the first lap with Ken Schrader. He really stepped on the gas. You can see him there in 3rd place. He was trying as hard as he could to get around Kowicki as early as possible, and the wheels spun on him.
Earnhardt making his move up to the field. Dale Earnhardt really making a rocket run to the front. Earnhardt now back in the back of the pack, starting back in 22nd spot. Now moving in on the Tom Petty car.
Look at the jump Dale Earnhardt got on Darrell Waltrip. You know, they started side by side, and Dale Earnhardt is, what, 4 or 5, maybe 6 positions ahead of
Yeah, he
Darrell
moved up in there. He moves around Kyle Petty, just passes him with ease. Earnhardt jumped up to the outside on the first couple of laps, and Waltrip got boxed in behind a couple of cars down on the inside and just couldn't get away. But Earnhardt gambled a little bit, went on the outside, and it has really paid off for him as he's picking off positions.
That's Earnhardt currently being shown in 16th spot, just back there behind the Greg Sachs car. Sachs driving for Buddy Baker in the Red Baron Oldsmobile. And meanwhile, you know, Darrell Waltrip being caught back in heavy traffic back in the field, and a lot of traffic back where Waltrip is. There's Earnhardt now making a move on the inside of Greg Sachs, and Sachs will slam the door down in turn 1.
Well, Earnhardt certainly is not driving conservative here in the first part of the race. Of course, he's an aggressive race driver, but you would not know that he's running for points as aggressive as he's driving here early. But he knows that he has a race car that'll work and that can get up front, and he's going to try to put it there.
Well, you know Dale Earnhardt, after having that wreck last week at Charlotte, he's really going to have to try hard to make up the lost points.
Back up front, Bill Elliott showing the way here in the early lap for the Holly Farms 400. Elliott the leader, out on Kowicki running in 2nd spot, and about 4 or 5 car lengths back to Kenny Schrader in 3rd. Let's go back in the pack there. Waltrip still back in heavy traffic. Waltrip just moving in front of our camera car there of the Darrell Jarrett effort and trying to make to move. There is DW. Darrell Waltrip trying to move inside of the Sterling Marlin Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. Now, this is the same car that Waltrip won with in Martinsville. There's a shot of Darrell Waltrip. A good shot from Dale Jarrett's Hardy's race cam. As Waltrip now back in 21st spot, trying to make his way to the front. Waltrip now trying to be careful and take his time. Remember, Waltrip has won here 9 times. 6 times in the Holly Farms 400. Bill Elliott leading here for the Holly Farms 400. Alan Kowicki runs in second spot. We are early on here in this Holly Farms event, showing some 8 laps complete. We'll be back in just a moment. On the event in the pole sitter, Bill Elliott has been leading every lap. We are now 12 laps into this 400-lap, 250-mile event, and it's been the front row. Elliott and Kowicki all the way. Those 2 cars separated by about 4 or 5 car lengths. And, of course, Alan Kowicki still looking for that coveted first Winston Cup win. He has had 83 starts without a victory. Kowicki, the 1986 Champion Spark Plug Rookie of the Year in NASCAR competition, trying to move in on Bill Elliott. And Elliott just needs to finish up in the front. He currently contains a 109-point lead over Rusty Wallace.
Elliott's turning the track at a pretty good clip, Jerry, this early. He's turning about 20.4 seconds. In practice here yesterday, some of them were down about 20 seconds, but that was with brand new tires on. So he's setting a pretty good pace here after they have run some 10 or 12 laps. It's actually 15 laps now.
Well, one driver who's trying to get his first short track win of the season, in fact, his first win ever came on a short track, that was Jeff Bodine. Bodine won on the short track a few years back, and of course, trying to get his win again here at Martinsville, or here at Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Jeff Bodine has started in 8th spot in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Let's go to the Bodine pits and Dick Berger. Dick?
Well, Jerry, while the majority of fans are watching the front of the pack, the majority of pits are watching Jeff Bodine, and here's why. He's the only one of the front runners who elected to start this race on Hoosier tires. All the rest of the front runners started on Goodyear. Yesterday in practice, the Goodyear showed a tick faster than the Hoosier tires, but nobody knows what for sure is going to happen today. So far, he has not yet radioed his crew to have a conversation about tires. Everybody's watching Bodine, number 5.
One pit stop has been made. Rookie driver Ernie Irvin came in. He had a flat right rear tire. His crew changed that. He's back out on the racetrack now, but he's at least 1 lap down.
Well, both Elliott and Kowicki, the front 2 cars, are on Goodyear tires. And we mentioned Dick Berger said that Jeff Bodine was on Hoosier. The other drivers starting on Hoosiers were Kenny Bouchard, Morgan Shepherd, and Rick Wilson. Only 4 of those original 32 starters opted to use the Hoosier tires.
You can see Ernie Irvin right there on the inside trying to get around Alan Kowicki to get his lap back. That Alan Kowicki also, with the newer tires, is getting a comparison of Cup tires to new tires for the other crew members.
Back in the battle going on back in the pack, there's Harry Gant in the car number 33 and Lake Speed in the purple car. His car number 83, and Phil Parsons trying to move around him. And here's Terry Labonte. Terry has been making some pretty good moves. Of course, as you said, he might be one of the favorites here. Junior Johnson's cars always run well here in North Wilkesboro.
There's Harry Gant currently being shown in 7th spot, and the separation back to Lake Speed, who's 8th, Phil Parsons 9th, and Terry Labonte currently in 10th position. There's Labonte coming by the 10th place car. Labonte having won this race a year ago, coming from almost a lap down after tagging the wall at a turn 4. And, of course, he settled the pole and won this event earlier in the year, back in April. That, of course, the first Union 400. And there's Ernie Irvin, who made an early pit stop. Irvin, who has now fresh rubber. You see how much quicker Irvin is, the point Gary Nelson made a little bit earlier. Fresh rubber has made Irvin quicker than second-place car Alan Kowicki.
Well, that is amazing. You know, that's only 20 laps on these other guys' tires, and we're 20 laps into the race, and the tires must have dropped off just a little bit. Ernie Irvin got new tires on his car, and he's that much quicker, but that should even out in a few laps.
Then there was a lot of concern about tire wear here. People thought possibly in the garage area that if it was a warm day, and it's over 70 degrees here today, and we had the rain, it washed all the rubber off the track, that maybe the Hoosier tires would come into bearing a little bit, but everyone still opted to go with Goodyear, essentially.
Well, in fact, all of them did qualify on Goodyear tires, excepting Jeff Bodine, as Dick Berger pointed out. Now, a couple of the drivers, Morgan Shepherd and Rick Wilson, who were starting near the rear of the pack, opted to go with the Hoosier tires and go to the rear of the pack, but they were already back there anyway, so it didn't hurt them that much. It will be interesting to see how it goes as the race goes on.
But you can see a lot of these cars, the 11 car of Terry Labonte, the 83 car, and the 27, the 6 car, all together right there, are all sliding a little bit in the turn. Especially the 11 car. You can almost see the back end getting loose on him. Right here's a good shot. We'll see if he slides again. Well, he got a little better traction through that turn, but he has had a lot of problems getting a little bit of grip.
Terry Labonte driving for the veteran Junior Johnson. Junior has won here more than any other car owner 18 times. And, of course, Labonte driving the Budweiser Chevrolet. And we asked Terry Labonte, you know, about driving for Junior all these years. There's so much pressure to win here at Wilkesboro. Does it put a lot of extra pressure on you as a driver?
Yeah, I guess it does in a way. You know, I finished up here behind his cars before I got to drive them, and I always wondered how they could beat you. And then the past couple of races up here in Junior's cars, you know, we've been fortunate enough to win the races. And it's actually a little bit easier driving them than trying to chase them, I'll tell you.
Back up front, Bill Elliott. There's Elliott now. Ernie Irvin, the young driver from Salinas, California, who moved back east, currently locked in a tight rookie point battle with Kenny Bouchard. Irvin now 9 points back of Bouchard, and Irvin getting a lot of experience and showing he is some kind of driver on the short track here running inside Bill Elliott.
Well, he's 2 laps down. He's trying to get one of those back as Michael Waltrip comes into pits for an unscheduled pit stop, and Elliott about to come into some very heavy traffic. And now the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki has caught Bill Elliott as Ernie Irvin races him trying to get one of his laps back.
And a battle back for 5th spot, Dan, between Kenny Schrader and the Harry Gant car. Schrader, the 25 car, back in the pack, and Gant, as those cars battle back and forth. Irvin sitting on the inside of the Bill Elliott car. And now Elliott's tires trying to take a hold. Irvin down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Bill's having a tough time up in that second groove. A car really has to handle well here in North Wilkesboro, especially early in the race. Now, most of the time we see the cars move, the groove moves up as the race goes on, but he's having to run up there a little bit earlier than he wanted to, and it's really putting a strain on him.
Well, you know, Bill Elliott, he being in the points like he is, he has to be careful at this point in the race. He's leading the race, and that feels good, but he's going to give the lap traffic just a little more room, I think, than he would if he was, say, 10 points right now. So being the point leader makes you approach the lapping the traffic a little bit differently than, say, Alan Kowicki, who's right behind him.
Moving around, Jimmy Beans in the car number 90, the Bullseye Barbecue car. Now going by the Bob Whitcomb Racing efforts, the TRW machine for Kenny Bouchard, the current rookie leader, point leader. Trying to hang on. A lot of concern about tire wear. Now, they can go about 140 or 50 laps net on fuel, but tires is the primary concern.
Yeah, I doubt if we'll see them go that far today, Jerry, before they'll come in. So the tires will start slipping and sliding over the track. And look, Ricky Rudd in the green, number 26, has caught the front runners. Rudd started back where in the 4th position, but he dropped back pretty good on the start of the race, but he since has run down Bill Elliott and Alan Kowicki. So Rudd might be the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
You know, Rudd has had, he has the dubious distinction of leading in the category of engine failures this year. And of course, if they had not had engine failures, Rudd would have possibly won more than he already has. Of course, he won at Watkins Glen on ESPN, and on the short tracks, he's been extremely strong. Had the race at Martinsville been a 400 lapper, he would have won it. Of course, he had engine trouble just past 400 laps, and Rudd now locked his heavy traffic there trying to get around some of the slower cars, and he's pulled on the rear deck of Alan Kowicki. On the 7 short track events, Rudd has only finished twice. Both times he finished second at Wilkesboro here back in the spring, and at Richmond. He has had 4 engine failures and 1 wreck, but I think that'll change next year for Rudd because they have a big addition to that team.
Yes, Lou LaRosa, who has been the chief engine builder for Richard Childers and the Goodwrench team that Dale Earnhardt drives for, is now working for the Quaker State team of Kenny Burns' team that Rudd drives for.
Ricky Rudd looking for his first ever win here in the Wilkesboro Speedway. His best finish in the past has been a second twice, we mentioned here. He finished second for Dale Earnhardt back in 1986 in the spring event, and of course finished second here in the spring of this year to Terry Labonte. Now it leaves here at the Wilkesboro Speedway. Alan Kowicki running in second spot. There is Rudd in third, and Rudd hangs on. There's Ricky Rudd. 3 short track career wins. His only win of the season this year coming, of course, on the road course at Watkins Glen.
And now, Jerry, we begin to see the yellow car of Jeff Bodine come into the picture. He's running in the 4th position. Jeff started back in the 8th position. We wonder if those Hoosier tires that he has on are beginning to come in.
It's almost as if Jeff's running a higher line. Now, I saw it, on that last shot. Jeff was almost a little bit higher than Ricky Rudd or Alan Kowicki in front of him. Jeff knows way around this racetrack. He gets around here pretty good. We'll have to keep an eye on him and see if he can stay up front all afternoon.
Alan Kwiecki trying to stay there with Bill Elliott. Top 10 here at the Holly Farms 400. Bill Elliott the leader. Alan Kwiecki running second. Rudd is third. Jeff Bodine fourth. Back Berman. And John Saunders along with NFL analyst Tom Jackson. And tonight at 7:15 p.m. NFL Prime Time. Battle up front here in the Wilkesboro Speedway. Alan Kwiecki moving to the inside of turn 2. Elliott trying to hang on. Elliott on the high road. Kwiecki on the bottom of the racetrack in turn 3. And Rudd has the best seat in the house.
Well, they're getting ready to line up and go right by Elliott. See Jeff Bodine and Ricky Rudd all falling in place. Elliott's going to try his best to drop down low, but the car's filling the hole with Ricky Rudd right there and Jeff Bodine right behind Ricky Rudd. So they're going to try their best to keep Bill Elliott on the outside.
Well, remember, Bodine is the driver on the Hoosier tires, and Ned, the concern was about the 50-lap mark. What would happen? We're just a few laps shy of 50.
And it looks like that car is getting very good traction coming off the turns, and that's where they thought the Hoosier tires might work best, is giving them traction off the turns, because as the race goes on, it gets very slippery. It's hard to get traction. You run a very low gear here at North Wilkesboro, which puts a lot of strain on the tires as you come off the turns. However, Ricky Rudd is on good gear, and he's coming up there staying right with Alan Kwiecki. So I guess it depends on how you have your race car set up.
Boy, they lined up and went right by Bill Elliott. He's in 5th position. In 1 lap time, he went from 1st to 5th.
There's Alan Kwiecki going by our in-car camera and the Hardee's race cam there in Dale Jarrett's car. Alan Kwiecki in the car number 7, the ZRX4. He's being pursued by the 26 car. Of course, it's maybe the quickest car on the racetrack right now, because he's just done a lot of horsepower off the corners. That, of course, is Rudd, and you just see Rudd coming in your picture there, and Dale Jarrett trying to hang on himself front. But Rudd will really push that throttle in and shoot by Jarrett down that back stretch.
Here's Harry Gant coming into the picture also. Car number 33 that's on the outside of Dale Jarrett there at the moment. Gant is currently running in the 4th position. He has moved around Bill Elliott and has caught that front running pack. Gant starting back in the 7th position, worked his way up now to 4th. And he really likes his racetrack. In fact, his last win came here from Wilkesboro, I believe. Exactly
3 years ago, Harry Gant's last win came in the Holly Farms 400 in 1985. Field thundering by the start-finish line. That's the view that Harold Kendler gets when they come by as he watches the field with those yellow and green flags up there. And the car number 33 now trying to make a move inside of Jeff Bodine. That's Bodine now on the high side and Gant on the inside, and Gant jumps back in the throttle and will have the advantage coming out of turn 4. Gant, who lives some 15 miles away down the road here in Kansas, North Carolina. This has to be Harry's home track. He ran a lot of the short track days here. He's driven modified cars here. And, of course, he likes the racetrack. We mentioned, Ned, that Gant's last win was 82 races ago right here in 1985.
And, boy, would he like to rectify that. Of course, he'll be leaving this team, which is headed up by Travis Carter and owned by Hal Needham at the end of this year, and will go with a new team that Leo Jackson will head up. So he certainly would like to give them a victory before he leaves the team, because they've really had some tough luck the last couple of years.
And, of course, that team is for sale. We understand that Hal Needham has the car number 33 team, the Skull Bandit team, for sale, and crew chief Travis Carter is trying to buy it. We understand the price tag is about $1.2 million. And, Gary, you'll take your check from the day and go buy it, probably.
Well, yeah, I could write a check for that. I just hope the guy wouldn't take it to the bank.
Oh, a lot of driver changes coming up through next year, and a lot of sponsor changes, and we will tell you what's going to happen later on. That was Harry Gant there. Let's go back up front. Alan Kwiecki now trying to hang on, and Ricky Rudd sitting there looking at that big red and white ZRX bumper. And now Rudd says, I'm tired of watching that bumper. I'm going to make a move, and Kwiecki says, nope, not now. Not a turn 2.
They did bump a little bit as they came off of that turn. Rudd got a nose under it, but just couldn't make it stick. Alan's car working pretty good down on the inside. He slips up a little bit as he comes off of the turn, but so does Rudd.
Alan Kwiecki has to be a sentimental favorite to get that first Winston Cup win. A lot of people think if he's going to get it, it'll come on this short tracks. Now, we're not disparaging at all his Winston Cup Super Speedway experience, but he is awfully strong in the short tracks. And many believe he should have won at Martinsville. A miscue in the pits, an air impact wrench problem, and he could have won it. He made up a lap under green. And he says, I will win today if the car holds together. I will be up front. And when he was introduced before the race, he got a standing ovation from this crowd here in Western North Carolina.
He has become a very popular race driver. Of course, he's won 4 of the Winston Awards so far this year, so he's proven that his car is fast and he drives past trouble.
Trouble up in turn 4. Kyle Petty spins in this field, splitting going around Kyle Petty. Here's Elliott as he moves by. Rick Wilson, Phil Parsons, so we're under yellow for the first time today. The first caution flag of the afternoon here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, and Kyle Petty has looped it coming out of turn 4.
Now here's where we're going to be able to see the pit crews in action. With Alan Kwiecki leading, we'll see where he comes out of the pits.
Okay, here's a replay of what happened up there. Dale Earnhardt had just gone around Kyle Petty and looked like he might have got bumped a little bit by Lee Falk as Kyle's car hit the inside curbing and around and caught just a piece of the car number 88 of Greg Sachs.
So Kyle gets an assist from Lee Falk in spinning that car around out of turn 4, and the leaders are on pit road. Kwiecki is in, everyone in on this first yellow flag of the day, and we will watch some of this pit activity. Let's go to the Jeff Bodine pits and Dick Berggren.
Well, Jerry, they are ready for a pit stop here, and they're about the only ones that are going to put Hoosier tires on. I just took inventory up and down pit road, and everybody else is going with Goodyears. Benny's at the other end of pit road. Benny, what do you see down there?
Dick, I'm in the 9, the Bill Elliott pit there, going back with Goodyears. This was a very opportune pit. Caution flag for Bill Elliott because he was slipping back.
Indeed he was, Benny. And Gary Nelson, would you, as a crew chief, after sitting here for 50 laps and watching what Jeff Bodine's car would do, would you jump now and go ahead and switch from Goodyear to Hoosier?
No, I don't think so, because Jeff was on the move, and then Harry Gant came along with the Goodyears and went on around Jeff. So I think that Jeff maybe had a spurt there with his Hoosiers, but Harry Gant proved that the Goodyears were still outrunning him.
Well, here's our leader back up front there, and of course that is Ricky Rudd, 26, the Quaker State car. You know, that's the story, Ned. A lot of the crews thought maybe the Hoosiers would be okay for 40, 50 laps, but then they would go away.
Well, as Dick Berggren pointed out at the top of the show, every team was going to be watching Jeff Bodine and those other few cars that had the Hoosier tires on them to see how they did work after they had run for a while. And as Gary pointed out, cars were running in front of him that still had on Goodyear, and also one car passed him, that Harry Gant, passing Jeff Bodine, and he had Goodyear, so they want to make a switch right now.
We are under the first yellow flag of the afternoon here at the Wilkesboro Speedway. The leader of the Holly Farms 400 is Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick. We'll be back in just a moment. Wilkesboro Speedway, we welcome you back to the Holly Farms 400. We have just gone green, and that man, Ricky Rudd, setting the pace here. Rudd staying on the racetrack, electing not to come in and pit, and he is shown as the leader. Now, on lap 63, the fellow who was the leader just before that caution flag, that is Alan Kwiecki. He was the leader, came in and pitted, and came back out in 7th spot. Now remember, Alan is an independent. He doesn't have the full-fledged pit crew some of the other guys had. He has only a couple or 3 full-time employees. But Alan, with Paul Andrews as the crew chief, has been doing an outstanding job on the short tracks.
Well, I think Alan Kwiecki also, to give him give his crew a little bit of credit, I think they were also blocked in the pits by Jeff Bodine's crew. The pits were real tight right there, and Alan Kwiecki stopped first near the wall. Jeff Bodine came in on an angle and made it tough for Alan to get out of the pits.
One of the biggest winners in that pit stop contest there during the caution flag was the car number 17 you see on the right side of your picture there. That, of course, is Darrell Waltrip in the Tide Chevrolet. Waltrip came in the pits in 10th spot and came back out in 5th. So an excellent job by Jeff Hammond, Sammy Jones, and the crew of that Tide Chevrolet to put him back up front in the thick of things.
Darrell seems to be having some kind of a problem now, though. He didn't look as strong all of a sudden, like he may be having a tire going down.
Back up front, Bill Elliott now moving around the car of Rick Wilson. Elliott can see Ricky Rudd, but Ricky Rudd has said, "See you, folks," as he has set sail. Kenny Bernstein, the car owner of the King Racing Quaker State Buick, has got to be smiling. Larry McReynolds, the crew, they felt the car dialed in all year long on the short tracks, but they have had motor trouble. And maybe, just maybe, today's their day. It will get that coveted first short track win of the season.
Jerry, I think that he did make a pit stop during that caution period. He just beat everybody out of the pit stop. Let's go to Dick Berggren in the pit.
Well, that, Jerry, is an interesting story on Ricky Rudd's automobile. All year long, he's had trouble with engines. In fact, he's dropped out of 12 races this year with blown engines. This is not an engine in the car that was built by this team. They actually borrowed this engine from Bob Rahilly, who owns the 75 car of Neil Bonnet. This thing is really performing well for Ricky Rudd today. They're coming out of the corners where the horsepower really shows, and for a change, Rudd seems to have a piece that is very strong and likely very reliable.
Let's take a look at the pit stop summary. We mentioned Alan Kowicki came in as the leader and came out in 7th spot. Rudd came in 2nd spot, came back out as the leader. Great pit work there by Rick McReynolds and the team. Harry Gant came in 3rd, came out 3rd. Travis part of the team trying to keep Harry up front. Jeff Bodine likewise. Waddell Wilson and the crew, he came in 4th and came back out in 4th. We mentioned the big gain by Darrell Waltrip. He came in 10th and came back out in 5th spot. Good battle back in the pack. There is Harry Gant, who is running back in the field. Gant currently being shown in 4th spot. Gant is 4th, and the car number 11 of Terry Labonte in 5th.
Bill Elliott, of course, runs 2nd. He's not too far out in front of Jeff Bodine. In fact, Bodine is rated dogging him right on his bumper, running in the 3rd position.
And you know, the most amazing thing is the lead that Ricky Rudd has taken over this group right here. Ricky Rudd just shot away on the restart. I think Bill Elliott might have been holding up the line a little bit. Here you see Harry Gant just got around Jeff Bodine. I think right now that, there's Elliott pulling back again.
Well, Jeff Bodine just moved up on the inside of Bill Elliott and took the measure on him and moved away. So Bodine's car certainly working very well now, a little bit better than Bill Elliott.
I think that's putting it mildly. Bodine looked like Elliott may have thrown an anchor out as Elliott was slowing going into turn 3. Bodine inside and took the 2nd spot. Jeff Bodine really has that car dialed in. As we may see, is there possibly a problem with the Elliott machine? He doesn't look as quick as he was early on. Let's go down to Benny Parsons in the Bill Elliott pit with Ernie Elliott. Benny?
Jerry, I'm down with Ernie. Does Bill have a problem right now?
Well, right now, Benny, the tire stagger's off just a bit. We're trying to adjust it. We made a change on the first stop, but it was just not enough, so we're going to adjust it the next time, and I think it'll be fine.
Has he said anything since the last green?
No, he just said stagger was still off a bit.
Okay, no problem.
Well, excepting for the driver out there, it makes it a little bit tougher on him driving the car if it's not handling quite as well. But he is staying up there. He's still in 3rd position, so he really doesn't have a whole lot to worry about right now. And as Ernie said, as the afternoon goes on, to make other pit stops, they'll make adjustments on the car and the tires.
And Gary, as the crew chief, this track seems to be a little bit more forgiving than some of the other short tracks. At Bristol, if you have a stagger problem, you could be in the wall in a heartbeat. At Martinsville, the track is so tight, people can't pass. And if you have a stagger problem, you may get the chrome horn out of the corner and get spun. But here, there's a lot of room, so it's not a problem for Elliott.
Well, you know, he'd like to be leading, but he does have a problem getting the grip off the turns. You can see right here, Harry Gant, he gets on throttle. Well, that looked a little more equal that time. The last few laps we've seen Bill Elliott's kind of falling back. He doesn't look like he's in any serious trouble right now. He's just kind of riding in, you know, wherever he ends up, top 5 maybe, he's going to follow around until he can get some better staggered tires on the car.
Elliott has never won at the Wilkesboro Speedway. His best finish coming in this race a year ago when he finished 3rd. Now, he sat on the pole for both races last year and sat on the outside front row here in the spring. Remember, we talked at the top of the show, Elliott's short track program was his Achilles heel, his problem back in '85. And since 1981, the driver who has had the best average finish on the short tracks has become the Winston Cup champion. Elliott had only one top 5 finish back in '85, although he won 11 races, and he lost the championship to Darrell Waltrip.
Jerry, right now there are 23 cars on the lead lap. Of course, Ricky Rudd is the leader. In 2nd place now is Jeff Bodine. 3rd is Bill Elliott. Harry Gant is 4th. In 5th place is Terry Labonte. 6th, Darrell Waltrip. 7th is the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki. 8th is Rusty Wallace. 9th is Dale Washington. Mike Alexander. Here's a battle for that 3rd position as Harry Gant tries to move on the inside.
And Harry Gant brings this crowd of partisans to their feet. They're all cheering for the hometown favorite. Of course, can't we mention just a few miles away is home in Taylorsville, and Gant takes 3rd spot from Bill Elliott.
Continue with that rundown. Phil Parsons is 11th, and 12th is Mark Martin. Davey Allison runs 13th, and 14th is Dennis Rader. Lane Speed is 15th, 16th is Brett Bodine, 17th Greg Sachs, Sterling Marlin is 18th, Morgan Shepherd 19th, Neil Bondy 20th, and 21st is the car number 8 of Bobby Hillin, Richard Ness 22nd. All of those cars in the lead lap, and so is Rob Moroso in 23rd.
Well, Ned, we'll show the fans at home the top 15 as we continue here for the Holly Farms 400 here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, the 26th event of what is a 29-race season worth $18 million. Of course, the leader, there he is, car number 26, Ricky Rudd. Jeff Bodine is 2nd, Gant is 3rd, Elliott 4th, Labonte is 5th. 83 of 400 laps completed. Back in 6th spot, Darrell Waltrip. Kowicki resides in 7th. Rusty Wallace is in 8th. Dale Earnhardt 9th. Mike Alexander is 10th. The top 15 rounding out, Phil Parsons 11th. Mark Martin 12th. Davey Allison 13th. Blake Speed 14th. Ken Bouchard is in 15th. We'll be back in just a moment. Plug 300 coming up later today, following our coverage at 4:30 p.m. on ESPN. Then, of course, the next to the final kart PPG event of the year. And here in the Wilkesboro Speedway, there's the leader right now. That's car number 26, Richard Rudd, moving on the inside of the Heinz catch-up machine of Morgan Shepherd. And an interesting development in this first pit stop. We are told now that some of the crews are trying to decide what the tire strategy is, and among those, the car number 27 of Rusty Wallace.
Well, Benny Parsons did some research in the pits, and he learned that Rusty Wallace's crew did bolt on 4 new Hoosier tires, and it seems to be working for him. Let's go to Benny Parsons for that story.
Thank you very much, Ned. I did talk to Jimmy Makar, the chassis man on that automobile, and that's exactly what he said, that they put on stickers, tires that had never been ran before. I went down and talked to Waddell earlier on. He told me the same thing. They were going to put on brand new Hoosiers. Normally you don't like to do that because they build too much heat. I'm down in the Ernie Elliott pits, Bill Elliott pits right now. Ernie Elliott has brand new Goodyears ready to go on the number 9 the next time they try it. So right now it looks like they're going to throw all the used tires and go strictly with new ones.
Well, they did work yesterday afternoon in the practice runs here and scuffing in tires. That is, they go out and run them 2 or 3 laps, heat them up a little bit, then let them sort of cure overnight. And, Gary, that's usually the way they do it at most racetracks, but maybe that's not going to be the tip here.
Well, with the track being green, everybody was concerned, and they really prepared themselves for anything that could have happened. They thought that maybe there would be enough rubber in the track, maybe not. I think we can go to Larry Nick Bergman down in the pits with Larry McReynolds and get some more on that story.
You guys have decided to stick with the Goodyear tires, Larry?
Yeah, right now, you know, there don't seem to be a big problem with him. He's pretty happy with the car. He said the racetrack is really getting slick. Bodine's on the Hoosier tires. A while ago, he run hard for about 40 laps, and then he started fading. We had Hoosier tire on our mind, but when we watched Jeff start fading, we decided to stick with the Goodyears.
You're running extremely well. Are you running as hard as you can? That car looks like it's on rails.
Well, no, we really aren't. You know, that's not Ricky Rudd's style. It always is his style to race the racetrack for about 300 laps and then see what's left the last 100, then he'll turn it on.
And we'll see if Jeff Bodine can get by Ricky Rudd, who is currently your leader.
And Jeff Bodine hasn't heard Larry McReynolds say he was fading because he is right on the rear deck now, that Quaker State Buick. Bodine, Levi Garrett Chevrolet, car number 5, at the top of your picture there. That white and yellow numeral, car number 5, it's a Chevrolet. And he now a couple of cars back from Rudd. And apparently Rudd has been told in the pits to go ahead and step on it a little bit. And Rudd now widens that lead to 2 car lengths coming out of turn 2.
Well, that car is working very well, regardless of what kind of tires he has on. Ricky Rudd is one of the smoothest drivers on the Winston Cup circuit. And when a racetrack gets slick, that works to his liking because he is so smooth. He knows exactly how hard he can press the accelerator and keep the tires from spinning.
I think it's almost predictable. When we get to North Wilkesboro Speedway, the track is going to get slick and greasy. The longer the race runs, the less grip the cars seem to get, and Ricky Rudd seems to always be able to come to the front when that happens.
Well, he's got a couple of cars in front of him there right now as Bobby Hillen just moved around Mr. Petty. Now, yesterday in practice, Petty was one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, but it doesn't seem to be working that way today as he goes a lap down to Ricky Rudd. Rudd just picking off wherever he gets.
Richard Petty, the winningest driver in the history of this North Wilkesboro Speedway, having won 15 times, now being cranked a lap down and trying to stay in front of Rudd. It's Bobby Hillen Jr. Flagging by. And back in the battle, a battle there between Terry Labonte and Alan Kowicki. That's the battle for 5th spot. Labonte in the car number 11, the Budweiser Chevrolet. Kowicki in the car number 7. And Kowicki there, also there, of course, the 27 of Rusty Wallace. So Wallace has those thicker Hoosier tires, and he is in the thick of that battle back for 5th spot.
This tire seemed to work well for him just after the green flag came out, Jerry. He moved up through the pack pretty quick, but once he caught this pack of cars, then it was a little bit slower in being able to get around here.
This is probably what everybody envisioned at the beginning of this 1988 season as a tire war. You know, the tires close to each other. Here's the Hoosier tires chasing 2 Goodyear cars, and they're not too far apart. They're not really miles apart like we've seen most of the year. In fact, the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 races, I think the Goodyear has been clearly the dominant tire. Now we see the Hoosiers gaining just a little bit of ground. Maybe this is what the people envisioned when they said there was going to be a tire war.
Terry Labonte just lost lost 2 positions there. Alan Kowicki moving up into the number 5 position in the car number 7, and Rusty Waller in car number 27 taking advantage of the pass and moving on the inside of Terry Labonte as well. So Labonte's car doesn't seem to be working quite as well now as it did earlier.
This is not the car that Terry Labonte won with here in the spring, or the car he won with last fall. That car was destroyed in a violent crash up at Dover, Delaware, just a few weeks ago, back in the second event at Dover back in September, and they did not have time to rebuild the car. So they brought this car, the backup short track car, the same car that ran at Martinsville, and it ran pretty well at Martinsville, but they had been spending a lot of time preparing for 89 and getting that new 89 Ford Thunderbird ready, and so they were unable to repair their short track car to run here. But I tell you, Terry Labonte said any car Junior Johnson puts on the racetrack with Tim Brewer and the crew is going to be competitive, and it definitely is.
Yes, fans, you did hear Jerry Punch right. That it will be a Thunderbird at Junior Johnson shops next year. Here's Ricky Rudd now moving up to put a lap on Brett Bodine. Brett is currently running in the 17th position, so Ricky Rudd is really putting his field, a lot of them, to rest, or at least a lap down.
We mentioned the fact that Harry Gant's ride, the car of 33, the Mach 1 car, is for sale. Now, Ricky Rudd's car owner, we told, there's Ricky, the current leader. His car owner, Kenny Bernstein, we understand, made the new engine builder, Lou LaRosa, who had been with Dale Earnhardt for 3 Winston Cup championships. And LaRosa will be with this team next year. Watch out for Rudd in that King Racing effort.
But you see Ricky Rudd and Jeff Bodine in a little bit of a predicament here. The cars that are being allowed are supposed to move to the inside and let the leaders go around on the outside. So here's Ricky Rudd with one car trying to move the inside of Michael Walter. Ricky Rudd needs to go around him on the outside, and now he goes to the inside also.
Mike Walter for the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac up in turn 3, and now Rudd will go to the inside, and he will take Jeff Bodine with him as they announce all 5 course Brett Bodine and Bobby Dillon. And apparently Rudd really has a muscle coming on the corner. Bodine runs in on him in the turns. Rudd just pumps that throttle and just pulls him by 2 or 3 carlings coming down the straightaway.
He's getting good traction off the turn, and that is the key on the short track, is getting good traction off the turn. Now you see a couple of cars up in front of him. Mark Martin is the next car. Mark is running in the 16th position. Car number 2 made an unscheduled pit stop earlier, so he was a couple laps down.
And contact there as Rudd's car just gets a little bit loose, and Bodine has to get on the binders. Ricky Rudd gathers it back in, but now Bodine will have lost a number of spots. Back to Ricky Rudd, about 6 car lengths separating those 2 cars. And Rudd did a masterful job of keeping that car from spinning.
Well, that was a close, and you see the big dent on the front of Jeff Bodine's right front fender where he hit the back of Ricky Rudd's car. That was a great job of driving by. You can see him waving, giving Jeff Bodine hand signals to stay back a little bit.
And Rudd has nowhere to go. Those cars running side by side now. Mark Martin finally gets around the car number 2, and that does give Ricky a groove to run in for several laps. He simply has nowhere to go. He's just in there figuring which one of those drivers is going past the other one first. As it turned out, Mark Martin followed the right guy.
Mark Martin in the car number 6 there, the Strong Light Ford out of the Jack Roush stable. Martin's surprised. He qualifies 6th, and many thought he'd be a contender for the pole, but they put fresh tires on the car, slipped and slide during qualifying, and now he's left early on here. Somewhat of a surprise. Young Mark Martin, a good short track driver.
He has a lot of short track experience, a lot of winning short track experience in the Midwest and ASA ARCO competition.
Wilkesboro Speedway, of course. Car number 26, Ricky Rudd leads. We are 115 laps in the Holly Park 400. Speedway, I'm Jerry Punch, along with Ned Jarrett and Gary Nelson, and the pit crew down there, of course, Dick Berggren and Benny Parsons. Let's take a look, Ned, and see what happened a few laps back in turn 1.
Well, as Ricky Rudd was coming up to lap the car number 6 of Mark Martin and the car number 2, you can see that Jeff Bodine got into him just a little bit, got them both crossways a little bit, but they both backed out and got themselves in good shape and continued on. Now they're putting a lap on Lake Speed, and Lake is currently shown in the 14th position. It
looked like Bodine was trying to stay right with Rudd. Rudd, it seemed to run so well out of the corners. Of course, Ricky had nowhere to go with Mark Martin in front of him and Ernie Irvin on the inside. So short tracks, there's not much margin for error.
No, there really isn't. And Ricky had no choice but to run in there and put his brakes on to keep from running over those guys in front of him. And of course, Jeff had his momentum going into the turn, so he just bumped him a little bit.
I think it's a little bit of the rhythm you get into. You know, lap after lap, you let off at the same place. You get on the gas at the same place. Then all of a sudden you run up against some slower traffic, and it really causes you to change your rhythm.
moving in on the Ken Bouchard car, the car number 10. Bouchard, one of the drivers from up in Massachusetts, running for Rookie of the Year. His older brother, Ronnie Bouchard, of course, who ran so well and won at Talladega 2 years ago before retiring from Winston Cup competition. Let's take a look at the cars that are running currently here at North Wilkesboro. Of course, the front two cars is Ricky Rudd, the car number 26. There is Rudd, who started 4th, currently being shown as the leader. Running in 2nd spot, there's the car number 5 as Rudd passes the start-finish line. That is Jeff Bodine, started back in the 8th spot, currently being shown in the 2nd spot here in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Bodine looking for his first short track win of the season. There, of course, Lake Speed and the Wins Kmart Oldsmobile. Speed having won earlier this year at Darlington. Surprise winner down there, picking up his first ever career Winston Cup win. He started 5th and currently showing in 15th spot. They're having some chassis problems, and Speed trying to get that car dialed in.
Bobby Hillen in car number 8 moving around Lake Speed. They're both 1 lap down now, so that's 4th position. As they pass, that Bobby Hillen taking over the 15th position. Speed's car is really washing out in the turns right now. There's a lot of cars out there, as a matter of fact, that are getting very loose, Jerry. As the track gets slicker and those tires gets hotter.
Interesting, Ned. We are over the 115 lap mark, and we are yet to lose a car. There is young Bouchard, Kenny Bouchard, driving the car number 10, 33-year-old driver. There's Kenny out of Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, currently leading the Champion Sparkplug Rookie of the Year standings. And there's Mark Martin, 29-year-old Batesville, Arkansas driver. There's a look at Mark, who qualified 6th in the Stroh Light Jack Roush prepared for Thunderbird. Handsome Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina, car number 33.
And we understand there might be some smoke coming from that car, Jerry. We'll take a look at him as he goes into turn 1 on the inside of Ken Bouchard, and it does look like there's a little smoke coming out. And that might be rear gearing smoke, Gary. It looks more like it.
Looks like bad news for Harry Gant. Those things usually don't get better. It's a smoke, it's an oil-type smoke, oil hitting the headers, or maybe rear-end gearing. It's hard to say right now, but those things usually don't get better.
Well, if Harry didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. Coming off a great run last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Brett Bodine. In the Bud Moore prepared Crisco Ford. There's Bodine, and of course there is Greg Sachs. Greg Sachs being shown in the picture. Sachs driving, of course, the car number the Buddy Baker car. Of course, that's the Red Baron frozen pizza machine. Jimmy Means in the car number 90. Means subbing for Benny Parsons, who joined our crew today. Thankfully, Benny Parsons in the pits there. And Means out of Forest City, North Carolina, 38 years of age.
Well, that 10 car's been staying in the picture all the way around the track, you know, Ken Bouchard as he falls back.
There's Neil Bonnet in the Valvoline Pontiac. Now, Bonnet will vacate that ride at the end of the season and will move over to the Wood Brothers car. There's Neil Bonnet, 41 years of age, from Bessemer, Alabama, in the Raymark Pontiac. He won twice this year at Richmond and following that up at Rockingham. Michael Waltrip, young brother of Darrell Waltrip, driving the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. And, of course, Alan Kowicki. Man has started on the outside of the front row. Kowicki currently being shown in 4th spot, or 5th currently, after starting 2nd in the Z-Rex Amoco Ford.
And right behind him is Rusty Wallace in car number 27, and he's being shown in the 5th. I think Kowicki had moved up to the 4th position, and car number 31 being given the black flag by starter Harold Kinder, the smoke coming from car number 31 as he goes up the backstretch. That is rookie driver Lee Falk.
There's Rusty Wallace. He has not gotten a short track win this year. In fact, he did not lit a lap on the short tracks until Martinsville a couple of weeks ago. Rick Wilson from Bartow, Florida, former all-state linebacker in high school football, a young fella, very, very muscular, driving the Kodak Oldsmobile there for the Morgan McClure team. And Mike Alexander, a young driver from Franklin, Tennessee, 31 years of age, subbing for Bobby Allison, the injured Bobby Allison. We'd like to say hello to Bobby, watching back in Birmingham, Alabama. And Bobby, we want you to come back in a hurry. Awfully good to see you last week at Charlotte. And, of course, the pole sitter, Bill Elliott, in the Coors Motorcraft Ford. Elliott trying to hang on to that 109-point Winston Cup point lead over Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt.
Here's young Rob Moroso in car number 22 as Greg Sachs in the car number 88 moves around him. Rob, as you mentioned earlier, in his 2nd Winston Cup event, he ran last week in the Oakwood Homes 500 at Charlotte, and Davey Allison in the Havoline Ford number 28 moving around on the outside. outside of Rob Moroso.
Back up front, the lead duo up there. That's Ricky Rudd in the car number 26, moving in on Kenny Schrader. Schrader had qualified so well early on, qualifying in the 3rd spot, and now about to go a lap down to Rudd. An indication of just how strong Ricky Rudd is. And Gary, you can really, if you miss the setup a little bit on the short track and you say you're a 1/10 of a second off, it doesn't take long when you turn this track in 19 seconds to get a lap down.
Well, North Wilkesboro goes two ways. We've seen it here with a lot of cautions. Every 20, 30 laps a caution would come out, and we've seen it with very few cautions. This looks like one of the type of races with very few cautions, and if you're off a little bit, it's not long before the leaders come back to get you. Look at Harry Gant. He is really driving. I think that maybe some of that oil smoke is getting under his tires, or maybe, I don't know what it is, but his car is really turning sideways on him when he gets on the throttle.
Yes, it is. And, of course, part of that would be tire smoke as he comes off of the turn as he tries to move around Dale Jarrett. And speaking of running without caution, Darrell Derringer, I believe, is the only driver who has won here at North Wilkesboro, led every lap from start to finish in the Junior Johnson car. I believe that was back in 1966, and he won the race. And we'd like to say hello to Darrell, who's in the hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hope he's feeling better today. He's had a pretty rough week. Darrell, of course, is suffering from cancer.
There are the front 2 cars, Ricky Rudd, of course, and Jeff Bodine, moving back in the pack as they are working up on the Dave Marcus car, Marcus's shop. And the car number 9, that is Bill Elliott, back in the field, moving around the Kenny Bouchard machine.
And we understand that they might be about to make a tire change. Let's check in with Benny Parsons in the pits.
Ned Jarrett, just a moment ago, these Goodyears were the tires in front, the sticker Goodyears that we talked about. Just a moment ago, the Bill Elliott crew took these tires, put them to the back, and put the brand new Hoosier, the sticker Hoosiers, up front. These would be the next tires to go on the car. They watched the 27 car change to Hoosier, the 27 car passed them. And that's who they've got to outrun today, is the 27.
And, of course, that's Rusty Wallace, who's battling for, as far as the points are concerned. Here's Elliott on the racetrack. Still running good out there, but he's dropped out of the top 5 at the moment.
Well, then I think the 2nd and 5th place cars have gotten a lot of people's attention. Of course, Bodine in 2nd spot and Rusty Wallace in 5th, both on Hoosier tires. And Bodine is really giving a fit now to Ricky Rudd coming out of turn 4. There's Robbie Moroso, 20-year-old driver, just turned 22 weeks ago, and he turns that Oldsmobile down pit road, and it looks like he will have a pit stop, and possibly he has gotten some sheet metal damage on the left side of that car. Steve Bird and the rest of the crew will go to work on it. A tough break for young Moroso. And Gary, he was an impressive young driver for you a week ago at Charlotte. He started 34th. There's Robbie. He started 34th and finished a respectable 14th.
But we really had a good time, you know, taking Robbie to his first Winston Cup race. I was fortunate enough to be the crew chief on the team. He ran, he qualified for the race, ran in the top 20 all day, and ended up 14th overall. We were really proud of Robbie. So now this is his 2nd race, but he looks like he has mechanical problems.
And remember last week he also won his first ever Super Speedway event in the Busch Grand National car in Charlotte, outdueling Jeff Bodine those final few laps to take that victory. So again, an impressive performance last weekend at Charlotte, both Saturday and Sunday, for young Rob Moroso.
Jerry, right now there are 12 drivers on the lead lap. And we understand that Dick Berggren has some news on why Harry Gant is smoking.
Well, I just talked to Travis Carter, and he says that the problem is possibly a little bit of oil that's hitting the headers. He says it's nothing serious. NASCAR's talked to Travis. They don't seem to be making any overtures to bring him in, but just in case, they're ready here with a gas can.
Harry Gant would really like to get one more win for that team, the Hal Needham Skoll team he has driven for the past 8 years. And in a few more weeks, they will hang up the shingle down there, and they may even auction the stuff off. It just all depends on whether they can sell that team or not. Again, the sentimental favorite here today. He's a driver in your picture there, showing a little bit of smoke out of that Chevrolet. And Gant would love to go to victory lane, the 48-year-old driver from nearby Taylorsville. Ricky Rudd leads here at North Wilkesboro Speedway as we are just past the 150 lap mark here in the Holly Farms 400. Rudd the leader, a capacity crowd on hand to watch it. We'll be back. And of course, dished up that 2-run homer to Kurt Gibson last night in the 9th inning. Battle for the lead back in the Wilkesboro Speedway. I'm Jerry Punch along with Ned Jarrett and Gary Nelson, Benny Parsons and Dick Berggren. And Ricky Rudd has been holding the lead at 155 laps. And Jeff Bodine moves to the inside and puts the colors of that yellow numeral car number 5, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. And Rudd says, whoa, a little bit of fender banging, Ned.
Yes, he wanted to get the lead back. Jeff caught him in some traffic and moved on the inside and just took away the lead. But now Rudd has muscled his way right back up front.
Muscle is right. I believe these guys are getting at it. Gary, you know, this is the last short track race of the year, and some of these short track cars will never race again. They'll end up at a mall or a shopping center as a show car, so I'm sure the car owner said, hey, you guys, go at it.
Well, they're approaching this race with a whole different attitude than they had here 2 weeks ago. They are thinking about, yeah, this is the last short track race. Yeah, the points, you know, especially Ricky Rudd. He's not in the points at all with all of his engine failures. Yeah, yellow flag is out for some reason. I don't see any reason yet.
Okay, well, that'll be a break that a lot of drivers are looking for, that they want to come into the pits and get some fresh tires on those cars, because there were some of them that were sliding all over the place.
And we'll keep an eye on Bill Elliott, the pole setter. Remember, Benny Parsons has told us they had those Hoosiers ready to go on the Elliott car, as now the yellow flag waving by Harold Kinder, and they will be feeding time at the zoo. Everyone making that left-hand turn down pit road. Here is Rudd and Bodine. As we will watch these leader pit stops, let's go to Benny Parsons in the Rudd pit. Benny?
Ricky Rudd pulls the car to the stop. They're going around to the right side. All the rest of the cars are coming right behind him. There's the Kenny Schrader car right behind Rudd. Here comes the Bill Elliott car into his pits. They have the right side change on Rudd's car. They're going to the left. They're putting the Goodyear tires back on Rudd's car. Bill Elliott is going to switch to a Hoosier. Up on pit road is Dick Berggren.
Jeff Bodine just pulled out of his pit, but Ricky Rudd beats him out because of where he was pitted. Rudd is way down pit road, and that was the difference. Actually, Jeff Bodine left his pit stall earlier. Bodine has stuck with the Hoosier tires he started the race with. More stickers just went on Jeff Bodine's car.
So we've already seen the strategy unfold here on pit road as far as pit position being so critical, Gary, and now the tires. We have Goodyear's back on the car number 26, and we have Hoosiers on the Elliott car, and back on, of course, the Bodine car.
Boy, what a battle. You know, between the two tire companies, like we were talking really all race long, we've got the leader running the Goodyears and the second place car on the Hoosiers.
Well, we're under the second caution flag today here at Wilkesboro Speedway. Debris on the racetrack and an injured spectator being let out. We're still early on. Stay tuned. We're having fun. Ricky Rudd's the leader. Wilkesboro Speedway, 160 laps are in the books here as we are in the Holly Farms 400. 400 laps, 250 miles will be the completion of this event, as we will have 3 more Winston Cup shows to go, all 3 on ESPN, as we go to the countdown, the road to the Winston Cup. Will it be Elliott, Wallace, or Earnhardt? And some of it may be decided today. Elliott now having put on the Hoosier tires, Ned, and it looks like Elliott's crew have made the call.
Yes, they made the call after observing very closely what Jeff Bodine was doing out there and what Rusty Wallace did. Wallace now is up in the 3rd position. He made a good pit stop. So did Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip were in jeopardy of going a lap down before this caution came out. So it worked to their advantage very well as they were able to catch up to the field, get in, made good pit stops. The signal now being given for 1 more lap, and we'll go back to green flag racing, and it should be some good racing.
Should be some outstanding racing. The safety car has the field, and we'll watch the replay here as the Dale Earnhardt car in front of Kyle Petty. He gets tapped by the Lee Falk effort. Kyle keeps the car down low. Great job by Greg Sachs in the car number 88 to miss Kyle Petty. There's, of course, Brett Bodine. That was the first caution flag of the day. And this latest caution flag was an emergency caution. There was an injured spectator who wanted to let across the field there, and there is no tunnel here, of course, and they have to cross the racetrack. They let him walk across the track over there toward the emergency safety crews outside as we are ready to go back to green here at Wilkesboro. Top 10, of course, Ricky Rudd being shown as your leader. Rudd is the leader. Jeff Bodine in 2nd spot. Back in 3rd spot now being shown is Rusty Wallace as we're getting ready for green. It's a beautiful new pit road and totally revamped Wilkesboro Speedway. And Harold Kinder unfurls the green, and Rudd jumps in the throttle and leads the charge down in turn 1.
Rudd was quick to get on the accelerator so he could get down to the low side of the racetrack. That's where he's been running most of the day. Some cars had already started to move up high before that last caution come out. Now Jeff Bodine is going to have to move high to move around Sterling Marlin.
Sterling Marlin driving their car number 44. That's the blue, white, and red numeral Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. Marlin Marlin there right in front of the Jeff Bodine car. Heavy traffic back in the pack. There's the Hardee's race cam inside the Hardee's Oldsmobile for Dale Jarrett. Jarrett pulls to the rear deck of Harry Gant. And Gant there trying to move inside of the Folger Chevrolet. That's the car of Kenny Schrader. You see the leaders up in front there. That's the Sterling Marlin car on the inside as Bodine trying to work around him. And now moving beneath Dale Jarrett, the Wins Kmart car of Lake Speed. Back up front, Ricky Rudd resumes the point, and Rudd is really rocketing away. He says, see you, fellas.
Jerry, I don't think there's any question but what the Goodyears are quicker when they first put them on. They just, he sprinted away the last time after the tire change, and this time he has done the same thing. And Jeff Bodine, of course, would have put new Hoosier tires on as well. So I think the Goodyears are certainly faster, at least in the first 10 laps or so.
Dale Earnhardt now being shown back in third spot, and he certainly wants to win here. A disappointing finish last week involved in a crash at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He knows he has to win, no doubt about it. Earnhardt has to win here, and the remainder of the season to have a shot at that 4th Winston Cup championship.
You know, also Dale Earnhardt right here on the screen and Rusty Wallace right behind him haven't led a lap yet this race. You know, the leaders have been Alan Kowicki, Ricky Rudd, and Jeff Bodine just for an instant. So these guys are looking for that 5-point extra bonus if they can lead any lap. And obviously they'd like to lead the last one, but any of them anywhere along in here would do a lot, put them a lot more at ease.
And of course, Bill Elliott did lead in the early part of the race, so he does have that 5 bonus points.
So already working from somewhat of a disadvantage are Earnhardt and Wallace. They know that Elliott has led a lap, and Earnhardt says, I've got to catch him and lead. Earnhardt now really starting to flex the muscle a little bit. That team a little bit down last week after losing their engine builder, but they are a team effort, as Dale Earnhardt has tried to stress. Richard Childress, Kirk Shelberdine, and the crew, Will Lynn, they've all said, we're a team. We lose one person, and everyone else sort of will close the ranks. So they lost their engine builder, Lou LaRosa, but Eddie Miller and Eddie Ranier and the rest of the folks in the engine room are trying to show they can put together some potent motors, and they have done so today.
Well, now, Ricky Rudd jumped out there a pretty good lead, but it looks like that Jeff Bodine is beginning to move in on him a little bit. So maybe it doesn't take the tires as long to adjust as we thought it might. We said 10 laps a moment ago. They've run about 6 or 7 since the green flag came back out, and Jeff Bodine is beginning to pick up on Ricky Rudd.
We might mention that, you know, that after some incidents a couple of weeks ago, it was rumored that Jeff Bodine would be leaving that team and would not be driving for the Hendrick Motorsports efforts next year. Well, that is not the case, and thankfully Rick Hendrick and the folks have gotten together and they met with Jeff Bodine, and I think Bodine was all smiles here when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He had talked to Rick Hendrick, and they had made the decision, of course, that he would like to stay on board with Waddell Wilson. They've got a great combination. They have run better and better as the weeks have gone on. And I think the run today is really a vote of confidence for Bodine by Rick Hendrick and their sponsors, Levi Garrett.
Well, he certainly knows how to get around a short track, and he's really moving in on Ricky Rudd right now.
173 laps in the books, so it'll be 400 comprised of the Holly Farms 400 today from the Wilkesboro Speedway with the leader, Ricky Rudd. Jeff Bodine second. We'll be back. Speedway, they remain the same. 31-year-old Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia. We are 178 laps complete here, and running second as the car spins around. Richard Petty been riding up on that outside groove, just rim riding on the outside groove, nipped near the wall, has looped that car up out of turn 4 as the field now passing in review down on the bottom. Let's take a look and see what happened, Ned.
Okay, as he goes into turn 3, he's been running very, very high up on the racetrack. He got a little too high, got his tires out in the loose stuff, as they say, and it just spins around sideways. He didn't go all the way around. He was high enough on the racetrack that everybody else was able to get down on the inside and move around him.
Well, caution for the 3rd time today for that spin by the 7-time Winston Cup champion, Richard Petty. 50 years of age. There's a look at the Winston Cup champion, the King. Richard Petty loops it in turn 4. Does a heck of a job to keep that STP Pontiac out of the wall. And Richard, of course, will fall back in line. And we are being shown the yellow flag. The safety car will pick up the field. And it looks like most of the cars will opt to stay on the racetrack. We've just had a caution a few laps ago, and everyone came in and pitted. Neil Bonnet will offer to come down pit road, as will the Mark Martin team and Brett Bodine. They will top off the Bonnet car and clean the windshield as some of the housekeeping being done in the pits.
Well, you don't, you know, when you're running near the back of the pack, you don't lose anything by coming into the pits and getting new tires and getting another run at it. The leaders, like you see Ricky Rudd and Jeff Bodine, if one were to pit and one stay out, you could be all the way to the back of the pack. Let's go to Benny Parsons now.
Thank you very much, Gary. Richard Childers, Dale Earnhardt seems to be running much better than he was earlier on.
Yeah, Benny, we're just working with a tire stagger now, trying to find a happy medium. The racetrack's changed around a whole lot, and I believe we're awful close now. But, you know, we're trying to be easy with our left rear. You spin the car so much off corner, and that's where we're trying to get the stagger fixed for us.
Well, it's one lap to green. Right now, Earnhardt's running as well as anyone, isn't he?
Yeah, time-wise he is, but Ricky Rudd looks awful strong.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, this is the third caution of the day. The second one came out, we said the ambulance had to leave. That was for one of the crew members on the car number 31 that Lee Falk is driving. Jack Reed was injured when the jack fell during a pit stop, and so that was the reason that caution came out, caution number 2. Of course, here's Richard Petty going out of the pits in the STP Pontiac. He's the reason for caution number 3 when he spun up at turn 4.
Let's check on pit road with Dick Berggren. Dick? Well, they're still working on Jeff Bodine's car here, trying to get the thing to exactly the condition they'd like to have it on, and each pit stop they adjust ever so slightly with stagger. It's real close. Isn't it, Waddell Wilson?
Well, the car's still not 100%. We're still adjusting it and trying to get the tire stagger he wants and get the bite the way he wants it, because Ricky is really tough right now.
Well, that's what everybody is saying. Ricky Rudd is the toughest car on the racetrack. These guys would like to beat him. Now is their time. The green flag is out.
Well, the green flag flies once again, and so does Ricky Rudd. Rudd seems to have the advantage when the green first comes back out. While the tires are cool, Sterling Marlin now hanging on the inside. He is shown now in 13th spot, 1 lap down, and he is fighting for his life. He is trying to get that lap back. He's on the inside of the racetrack, but Rudd just has too much muscle coming out of turn 4. Out of turn 2, Sterling Marlin now hangs on the bottom groove, and Jeff Bodine content to sit back there in the car number 5. That is Bodine. He is sitting back there watching Marlin, and Marlin really gets a good bite out of turn 4 and pulls in front of Rudd. Now Sterling Marlin would like to see another yellow flag, a quick one, if he can try to hang on in front of Ricky Rudd. And look at the inside. Here is Mr. Bodine. Jeff Bodine, having never won at Wilkesboro Speedway, trying to get inside Ricky Rudd. And the man who's sitting back there, you can just see the top of his car. Now the whole car is Dale Earnhardt. Look at Ironhead, the nickname they call him, Dale Earnhardt, back in 3rd spot in the Good Range Chevrolet.
Well, you know, also coming into the picture there is Rusty Wallace. Everybody up there in front trying to get up, leading a few laps. Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace are both very intent on getting to the lead.
Well, Ricky got sort of frustrated there when Sterling Marlin trying to get his lap back, which that's what Sterling had to do. He needed to move to the inside, and he did exactly what the rules called for him to do, but he had the fast groove, and he was able to stay down there and get his lap back, but now Jeff Bodine about to put him a lap down again, but it sort of frustrated Rudd, I believe, a little bit, but he's backed off, cooled off a little bit there now, and we'll see what he can do.
Jeff Bodine, his last 7 trips on Wilkesboro Speedway, he has finished 2nd twice, 3rd once, and 5th 4 times. He's never won, we say, in a Winston Cup car, although he did pick up a win in an open-wheel modified car for NASCAR racing back here in 1980. There's a look at Jeffrey Bodine, 39 years of age.
And Dale Earnhardt now stalking the car number 26 of Ricky Rudd. Earnhardt would like to get up there, as we said earlier, and lead a lap. He sees Jeff Bodine getting away, so that's going to diminish his chances of leading a lap if he can't get around the car number 26 of Ricky Rudd, and of course the lap car number 44 of Sterling Marlin.
And the big white and green Kodiak Pontiac now pulls up on the rear deck of Dale Earnhardt. There's the one green car. That's the Rudd machine. And Rudd, a little bit of fender contact, right front and left rear. Rudd, the car number 26, tagging that sheet metal from Sterling Marlin. And Sterling now moves up a little bit higher and gives Rudd the bottom groove. And Earnhardt will try to slide through as they exchange a little bit of paint out of turn 4.
Ricky Rudd just kind of bowled his way through there. He let Sterling Marlin know he was there, and then he just kind of forced his way in and finally got around him. I'm sure Ricky Rudd is a little bit frustrated right now, losing the lead.
And look who's on the bumper of Dale Earnhardt. We see Earnhardt on the right of your screen, but right on his back bumper is Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Bear, car number 27. And there are 2 no harder chargers in all of auto racing than those two. Boy, when they get together, they put on a show.
Rusty Wallace driving here, driving for his life, trying to gather as many Winston Cup points as he can. He needs to lead a lap, so does Earnhardt, and they are currently being shown back in third and fourth spot. There's a second place car of Rudd going by, and there's Earnhardt and Wallace. They're running third and fourth here. They're reversed in the Winston Cup point race. Of course, Earnhardt currently in third spot, some 74 points behind Rusty Wallace and 183 back of Bill Elliott.
Boy, that is something. You take the top 4 cars right here. You got the leader on Hoosiers, second place on Goodyear's, then the next car on Goodyear's, and then fourth place on Hoosiers.
Pretty evenly matched here at Wilkesboro Speedway. We're glad you're with us here for this Holly Farms 400. As the road to the Winston Cup winds down on ESPN, you'll see every single Winston Cup event for the remainder of the year here on ESPN. And currently, it is a Jeff Bodine show. Ricky Rudd, the dominant car early on, but Bodine, in this latest pit stop, has put on those fresh Hoosier tires, and now he will lead Ricky Rudd by some 10 car lengths. And there is Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace, the third and fourth place cars. Earnhardt's the car number 3, the Goodrich Chevrolet, that black and silver numeral car number 3, and the white car with the green numbers, that of course is Rusty.
Currently shown in the 5th position back behind them is Harry Gant, who is still hanging in there. Even though he had a little smoke early, it hasn't bothered him too much. He's still hanging in there. He's about second behind the third and fourth place cars of Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace.
Wallace has to be pumped up, Ned. Coming off the performance a week ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Wallace lost a couple of laps, had tremendous frustrations early on with several unscheduled pit stops. He was at least 2 laps down, one to the leaders. An agonizing lap-by-lap battle back to the front. In fact, Rusty Wallace made 17 pit stops in that 500-mile event.
And look at him now trying to pass Dale Earnhardt on the outside. And if you don't think that's a tough chore, get out there one time and try it. Although Earnhardt will race him hard, but he's not going to give him any quarter, Gary.
There's a lot of trust between these two guys. You know, they are very similar in their driving styles, but they both have a lot of respect for each other. They can race door to door, and you don't see the bumping like we see with a lot of other cars. They respect each other, but they race each other flat out.
Well, Rusty couldn't make that move on the outside. Now he's going to try it up there again. He sticks that left front fender up on the outside of Earnhardt's right rear quarter panel. Earnhardt gives him racing room, and he moves up on the outside. Boy, that is a tough way to pass.
Rusty Wallace taking the high road around on the outside. 199 laps. We'll have halfway next time by. 400 laps here comprise the Holly Farms event, 250 miles. So we are just a lap away from halfway.
Now that time off of the fourth turn, Earnhardt just barely gave Rusty room inside of the wall. Rusty had to back off a little bit as he went into the turn, so Earnhardt held the position.
I haven't seen them touch yet, Ned. They've been running so close to each other, but no contact so far.
That's real professionalism.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Well, these two drivers battling back for third and fourth spot. Meanwhile, Rudd and Bodine have moved away considerably.
I think Rusty feels that Earnhardt's holding him up a little bit right now. He said, if I can get around him, I can move away. Now he's going to try him on the inside, but that didn't work either.
Well, you can imagine Dale Earnhardt said, okay, Rusty, you can pass me, but you're going to have to do it on the outside because I'm going to protect the inside. And Rusty Wallace saying, come on, give me a little bit of a break on the inside. I know I can get around you.
He's certainly making him work for it, no question about that. And he also knows that when he's working for it out there that he's using his race car and his tires up.
You can see Dale Earnhardt there in the 3 car, giving Rusty Wallace the 27 car, the outside of the track. Saying, if you're going around me, you're going to have to do it on the outside. A spin right behind him.
Trouble in turn 2. Harry Gant loops it around and is on the bottom of the racetrack. Tough luck for Harry. We mentioned that car had been smoking early in the race and possibly some oil on the headers. As Gant's car slipping and sliding, he was trying to hang on to it, couldn't quite keep it straight. The car spins, and now he sits on the grass trying to get the car refired as we are under caution for the 4th time today. We are under caution at Wilkesboro Speedway for the spin by Harry Gant. The leader, Jeff Bodine, just past the halfway mark. Bodine the leader. Ricky Rudd runs in the 2nd spot. Rusty Wallace is 3rd, and Dale Earnhardt is 4th. From North Wilkesboro, we'll be back. Wilkesboro Speedway just past the halfway point. We are under the 4th caution flag today. We are showing 205 laps in the books. This caution flag for Harry Gant's spin down in turn 2. Gant, who spun that car, looped it around, had been running among the top leaders all day. In fact, was being shown in 5th position prior to that spin. But having spun the car and stalled it down in turn 1, Gant now goes 1 lap down to the leaders. And the leader, of course, now after the pit stops coming out, we are showing great pit stop for some of the lead cars. Dale Earnhardt's 3-time world champion pit crew got him out by virtue of great pit work, but by also virtue, Gary, of great pit selection.
Well, he's got that last pit on right there on the left of your screen, or on the right of your screen now. Coming off of the pit road, he's at the last pit leaving pit road, and that really gives him a jump. Right there where that man's standing, that's Earnhardt's last pit. Let's go to Benny Parsons down in the pits.
Gary Nelson, these fellas are all over these tires that came off Darrell Waltrip's tide machine, checking the circumference of them, making sure that the stagger stayed the same, because what the stagger does means how they're going to have to adjust the car. As soon as they were able to lay them down, 4 people went straight to them and started measuring them to make sure. They were having trouble measuring this one, just to make sure where the stagger is so they can adjust the car.
That's Bill Wilburn there, this tire specialist for the Tide team. In fact, a good tire specialist is probably as important as a good crew chief.
Well, you can see him there with the tape measure. He's measuring the circumference of the tire, comparing the inside to the outside, trying to get them matched up just right.
Back to green, and more importantly, Dale Earnhardt has now led a lap. So Earnhardt has picked up those 5 bonus points, and Rusty Wallace says, I need to lead one. Wallace comes like out of a chute, a rocket chute down the back straightaway, moves up on Earnhardt, and it's a half a car length out of turn 4. Out of turn 2, Earnhardt trying to hold off the likes of Rusty Wallace. Jeff Bodine is 3rd, Ricky Rudd is 4th, and Bill Elliott now being shown back in 5th spot as he leads a gaggle of cars. A lot of traffic now bunched up out of turn 4, but the man who leads them, the man who won 6 of 8 short track events a year ago in this same race car. It's the same car they used all last year on the short tracks, and that, of course, is Dale Earnhardt.
Boy, heavy traffic back in the pack there. Dale Earnhardt really getting a nice, easy run before they get into the lap traffic. He's got clear sailing ahead of him.
Here's the Napa mid-race recap. Leader, of course, at the 200 lap mark was Jeff Bodine. Bodine started 8th, had led 17 to the 200 laps. The average speed at halfway was 97.826 miles per hour. And, of course, he pitted on laps 59 and 158. That was at lap 200. There have been 3 cautions for 12 laps back then. There were 5 leaders, 7 lead changes. 32 cars started, 30 remain running, very little attrition here, and there were 12 cars on the lead lap. The 2 drivers out of the race, youngster Rob Moroso and the veteran Lee Falk. So 30 cars still running here, the Napa mid-race recap. And there's the man they're chasing right now. 35-year-old Dale Earnhardt, 3-time Winston Cup champion. And Earnhardt has pulled away somewhat, Ned, from the car of Rusty Wallace.
Yes, he has. He was dogged for a couple of laps after the green flag came out, but then he was able to move away and get himself a little bit of breathing room. And just before the caution came out, they were really dogging each other. Rusty was trying to get around Dale Earnhardt, but remember, Earnhardt has on Goodyear tires, and they certainly work good when they're cool. Rusty still has on the Hoosier tires, but we'll see after they run a while if that changes.
Now, we mentioned this is the same car that Earnhardt used to win 6 short track events a year ago. This is not the brand new, the good short track car that Wallace's team has. They took that car they ran at Martinsville and set on the pole with the new track record, and they have converted it to an intermediate car. They want to run that car at Rockingham. In fact, Rusty Wallace was at Rockingham, North Carolina, where we'll be next week, a week from today, for the AC Delco 500, and he tested that car this past Thursday and ran laps over 147 miles per hour. This car that they have here, the car number 27, is an old car. Remember Bristol? When Rusty barrel rolled his good short track car 7 times in practice? Well, that car was Holly. That's his good short track car. This car they've nicknamed Madonna. They had to rebuild it, and they ran it in Richmond. It's the car that they had trouble with in Richmond when he and Bodine got together. And, of course, they brought it here to Wilkesboro.
I've always thought it was comical the way these crews and drivers name their cars. Some of the names they come up with sound kind of funny, but then when you talk to the crew members and you find out the story behind it, the names, there's always some story behind the name of these cars, and it's always some, usually not very printable, but always very interesting.
There's Rusty Wallace. Of course, we mentioned the fact that he and Dale Earnhardt are best of friends both on and off the racetrack.
And we watched no secret that Dale Earnhardt's nickname was Ironhead. A number of people have given him that nickname over the years. And after the accident that Rusty had at Bristol, bouncing back the next day to drive in that race and get a respectable finish, Dale Earnhardt nicknamed his friend Rusty Wallace Rubberhead. In fact, Earnhardt came up on the morning of the race at Bristol and took a black magic marker and had written Rubberhead across the front of Rusty's helmet.
Well, I tell you, after what Rusty went through over there and had to put a big strain on his neck and his head and everything else, he almost looked like he had a rubber head to come through that.
No doubt about it. We're here at Wilkesboro Speedway. Dale Earnhardt is leading the way. And, of course, a lot of interesting things go on in the garage area. Before the race starts, they must start the car. They have a panel of switches. Let's look at another ESPN Quick Fact.
Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
In NASCAR modified racing and in IndyCar racing, they use what's called rack and pinion steering. Now, this is what we're talking about here. This direct rod coming out of the steering column comes up to a pinion gear and down to a rack here in the front of the car. This rack has small teeth on it. As this pinion gear slides back and forth over these teeth, it runs the rack back and forth and turns the front tires. It's a very sensitive form of steering, but also very delicate. One least little bump could snap this rack. Back at old Wilkesboro Speedway, of course, Dale Earnhardt showing the way here. We are 225 laps in the books, and the Goodwrench Chevrolet, Earnhardt now leading just past the halfway point.
Jerry, what race was that you were showing us that car?
That's one of those open wheel modified. That's quick, and I get down there and do the little quick back. That's why they call it a quick back. I got to be on pit road and be back up here and dodge the car.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, that was an interesting quick back, though. The modifieds run a completely different steering system than they do on these stock cars. That was rack and pinion steering. All the NASCAR Winston Cup cars run a steering box, a worm and sector type steering box. So there is a big difference in the two divisions.
And one big difference we're seeing now is Ricky Rudd's car is really coming to life. And Ricky Rudd now being shown back in third spot. The top five as we have them right now. There's the leader, Dale Earnhardt, leading the way. Of course, Rusty Wallace in second spot. Back in third now being shown is the car of Rusty Wallace, or Jeff Bodine. We'll be back. The leaders after 232 laps continue to be Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt showing the way. Rusty Wallace running in second spot. Ricky Rudd is third, and Rudd has really gotten that car dialed in now. He has run down Rusty Wallace. There is Rudd in third. Jeff Bodine is fourth. Bill Elliott is fifth. 230 of the 400 laps completed. Back in sixth spot. All in the lead lap, Terry Labonte. Seventh is Phil Parsons. Eighth is Darrell Waltrip. Ninth, Alan Kulwicki. And showing back in 10th is Davey Allison. Back in 11th is Mike Alexander. 12th, a good run for Greg Sachs. 13th, Bobby Hillin Jr. 14th is Sterling Marlin. And back in 15th spot is Kenny Schrader.
And one of the drivers, Jerry, that was up in the top five for a while, and then he spun and caused one of the caution flags, is Harry Gant. He has taken his car to the garage area and apparently out of the race. He would be the third driver out of the race here today.
Boy, if Harry didn't have any bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. I tell you, what a tough day for Harry Gant. Let's check in down in the garage area on the Harry Gant story.
Harry, I see oil in the floorboard of the car. Where did it come from?
Oh, the transmission, I think the seal's out of the transmission there. It's coming up in the car. It's been a stinking for a good while.
We've been smelling it for quite a while. We didn't know exactly what it was. I noticed the smoke is getting worse. Are they going to try to fix it, or are you through for the day?
Well, I don't think there's any point in trying to fix it. You know, we got 150 laps to go, and we're already down one, so I couldn't see no point in standing out there running. They're going to look at it, though, but I just assume that we didn't run the rest of it.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
Harry Gant, 29th in the Winston Cup point standing, so no reason for him to come back out and try to get points. What a disappointment for the driver who's had a win and 4 second-place finishes at this racetrack. One of his favorites, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Harry calls it a day.
Boy, Harry's had everything in the world happen to him this year, well, really the last several years. That rear seal on the transmission tail housing is where the drive shaft goes into the back of the transmission. It's almost something you don't worry about. Nothing ever goes wrong with that seal. And here Harry Gant loses the rear transmission seal, causes the oil to go out of the transmission onto his headers and under his tires. That's what was causing his car to get so loose.
One car. Dale Jarrett being left again by Dale Earnhardt, and Rusty Wallace there not too far behind Dale Earnhardt as they begin to come up on some heavy traffic. And there you can see the green number 26 of Ricky Rudd coming into the picture, so he is definitely moving up on the first and second place cars. Rudd currently running in third.
Remember back in the spring when Earnhardt was so strong here, he led 240 of the 400 laps here in the Wilkesboro Speedway, only to have a slow leak in that right rear tire to take place with about 10 laps to go, and Earnhardt was slowing just enough for Terry Labonte to come by him and take the win. There's DW, Darrell Waltrip showing back in the field. Waltrip currently being shown in 9th position. You see he's doing battle back there, one of the lap cars. That is the car number 75, the 16th place car, showing a lap down. That is Neil Bonnet. Darrell Waltrip, a brand new race car that debuted up at Martinsville 3 weeks ago. He started 20th at Martinsville and won it in a brand new Banjo Matthews prepared car. Waltrip not having such a good day today. They're having trouble getting the car dialed in. I believe Benny Parsons is down there with crew chief Jeff Hammond. Benny?
Jeff, how goes it?
Benny, what we did help, but still it's not quite enough. We need to work on the car just a little bit more. We're headed in the right direction. The car is turning a little bit better. The lap times are showing it. But right now, everybody else seems like they picked up too. So, you know, we're in a pretty good battle right now that's trying to stay in the lead lap.
It looks like that all the cars did pick up that last pit stop. Is everybody finding something out?
Well, several of the cars have switched over to Hoosier tires compared to Goodyear's, but Dale's car is still on Goodyear's, and so are we, and he's really running well. I just feel like we just need one more adjustment on the car, and we should be able to get back up there and be competitive.
Can the tires do it, or do you have to go someplace else for the adjustment? Can you do it with the tires, or do you have to go someplace else?
I believe we can do it with the tire stagger and work on the chassis just a little bit more. We're not talking about just a little bit, but on a racetrack as short as Wilkesboro here, they eat you up so quick. You know what I'm talking about there. So we just really need to be right. We give up a 10th or 2 tenths a lap. Next thing you know, they're all over you.
Thank you.
There's Darrell Waltrip, 42 career short track wins. Waltrip, a tremendous effort here. Waltrip, one of the winningest drivers, the winningest money winner here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, $386,000 in career winnings. He has 9 victories, 7 of those wins coming with the Junior Johnson stable here for the many years he drove for Junior. Back up front, there's Dale Earnhardt moving around the car of Brett Bodine, the car number 15. Bodine had an outstanding effort a week ago at Charlotte, nearly came close to that first win, as the car just couldn't quite keep the mustard up those last few laps. And Bodine had an impressive performance there in the Bud Moore car.
Well, he came home in 3rd place, which was his best Winston Cup career finish. You know, spotters are always very important, and fans might not know what spotters are if we talk about those, but Dick Berggren has that story. Dick?
Well, then here at North Wilkesboro, the spotters are all clustered together on the roof of a brand new building in the center of the infield. Here they stand high above the racetrack, and they watch not only their car, but they watch everybody else's car too. If they see somebody picking up speed, going a little bit faster, they're going to let their driver know, hey, try a little bit different line. Somebody's picking up speed here. They will also keep an eye for their driver behind them, let them know who's closing the door. And most importantly, when there's trouble on the racetrack, they'll let their driver know where it is and how to stay out of it.
Well, you're right about that, Dick. The spotters have become such an important part of racing. You know, before we just had pit boards, chalkboard we'd hold up to the driver and give them messages. Then we went to the radios where we could actually talk to the drivers. Now we've gone so far as every member of the crew has a radio, plus we've got a spotter up high who he watches up ahead of the leader or watches up ahead of his own car to see if there's any problem. You know, the driver in the car can see something directly in front of him, but the spotter is supposed to look ahead to the next turn and warn the driver of any problems that he won't see. The spotters have done also a lot in the scoring and telling them where the lap cars are. It's really become a very important part of racing.
Back up front, Dale Earnhardt trying to work over the 11th place car, the last car in the lead lap. That's Mike Alexander. It's Earnhardt working on Alexander. Now, when Earnhardt starts a race, he has a whole panel of switches to choose from. What are they for? We'll find out with this quick fact.
Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
We've all seen drivers reach up at the beginning of a race and flip a panel of switches on the dashboard. Well, what are they actually flipping? Let me show you. Now, this Goodrich Chevrolet here of Dale Earnhardt has a panel of 5 separate switches here on the dashboard, fairly representative of all the Winston Cup teams. This red one here is the engine ignition. You flip that one up,
flip the one switch left, which is a spring-loaded switch for the starter to crank the car. The blue one is power to the electronic tachometer. The white one, rear-end cooler fan. And the final red one here is the alternator. Now, during qualifying, the drivers will leave the cooler fan and the alternator off, but they'll have them on for the race. On those final few laps, they may reach over and flip both those cooler fan and alternator switches off. It may add 3 or 4 horsepower and may just be enough to make the difference in that final lap run to the checkered flag.
Well, a fellow who would like to have some horsepower right now is Ricky Rudd, as he is in a tight battle for that second spot. And heavy traffic now out of turn 2 as they split the Bouchard car and make a Bouchard sandwich now as Bach Alexander is done on the inside. Alexander in the car number 12. Rudd is in the 26. And, of course, Rusty Wallace in the car number 27. Wallace's car began to slip and slide a little bit, Dad. We saw him slipping and sliding in the corners, and now he slides up again and gives the opening for Ricky Rudd.
Yeah, his car is moving up a little bit in the turn. That's all Ricky Rudd needed to move on the inside, as we see Jeff Bodine lap on the outside of Dale Jarrett. But here's that battle for second position. Ricky Rudd down on the inside. Can he get the traction off the turn to make the pass?
Boy, it's so hard to figure this out. You know, the Goodyear tires on Ricky Rudd's car, we've seen them spurt off on the restarts and take off. Then it looked like the Hoosier tires would come back a little bit. But now as the race goes on and on a little longer in the long run, now it looks like the Goodyears come back. So maybe there's a window right in, you know, the 20 to...
I would wager that we'll see Goodyear tires go back on that 27 on the next pit stop.
I better believe it. I tell you, I'm sure that Rusty Wallace and Jimmy Makar are having a little discussion now on the two-way radio. Jimmy, of course, the chassis specialist for that car, as Earnhardt now showing the way. And in his mirror, he can see that bright green Quaker State Q. That's the Ricky Rudd machine now in second spot. And Rudd headed toward the front. Ricky Rudd, 31 years of age, from Chesapeake, Virginia. Impressive young driver. We already mentioned earlier, Rudd is probably one of the most consistent race car drivers. He's extremely smooth on a racetrack, and he is reeling in Earnhardt.
He is definitely moving in. That car has worked well all day long. He got caught back that last time on the green flag. When the green flag dropped, he was back in the pack a little bit, but he has methodically worked his way up through the pack, moved into second position, now gaining on the leaders.
259 laps in the books here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Earnhardt the leader. Rusty Wallace is now in third spot as he has been passed by Ricky Rudd in second, and fourth is Bill Elliott. Here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina. It's apple season here. The Apple Festival just a couple of weeks ago, and plenty of bags of apples on hand for munching down trackside. And one driver doing some munching right now is he's sort of munching away at the lead for Dale Earnhardt. That's Ricky Rudd. He's reeled him in now by 3 car lengths.
Yes, he has. He has consistently moved up on him every lap. Jerry, his car is working better in the turns than is Dale Earnhardt's. Now, Earnhardt is going to be tough to pass, but Rudd's car is working well enough that I believe that he'll be able to set him up and do it.
Dale Earnhardt coming all the way back from a starting spot, 22nd on the field to lead here at North Wilkesboro. And Ricky Rudd, though, has been the man of the hour. He's been the strong horse here most of the afternoon. But he's currently running in second spot, but he just caught Earnhardt down in turn 1.
Well, I'll tell you guys, it's going to be tough to figure out who the driver of the race today is going to be. Look at the show of performance, the performance we've seen from Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt. All of the guys that have been up front today have all put on such a show.
Well, Lake Speed right there on the lower groove. Speed, one of the slower cars now, doing the best he can, but for moments, Rudd will have to fall back in line behind Earnhardt. Rudd had made his move on the inside, but then the slower car Speed was there. Earnhardt using every trick in the book to use that lap traffic as much as he can to stay out front.
The Speed going down 2 laps. He was already 1 lap down to the leaders, running in the 17th position.
Earnhardt trying to get that coveted short track win at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Earnhardt has won here twice at North Wilkesboro, but he's never won in the Holly Farms 400. Both of his wins coming in the spring race here. Earnhardt having won back in 1986 and, of course, last year 87, both in the spring.
Boy, what an importance the pit crew plays at this racetrack. You know, Ricky Rudd was the leader during the last caution period, came into pits, and Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace beat Ricky Rudd out of the pits, and it's been this long for Ricky Rudd to get back to the ground that he's lost just to get to Dale Earnhardt's back bumper. Now he has to pass him to regain just to get back where he was before the caution.
and Dale Earnhardt knows that if you lead the most laps in a Winston Cup race, you get another 5-point bonus. So he'd like to stay out there as long as possible, but might not be possible too long, because here comes Ricky Rudd down on the inside as they go into turn 3. Can he do it, Jerry?
Rudd's got the inside groove. There's a lot of lap traffic. Ricky will have to hurry if he's going to get by Earnhardt, because they're coming up on some traffic. Rudd's got him by a fender as they head for 1, but Earnhardt comes back strong on the outside, and they're in turn 1. Now, just in front of them will be the Kyle Petty car. Rudd knows Kyle is there. He jumps in the throttle and pulls Earnhardt by a car length. And Ricky Rudd, the new leader here in the Holly Farms 400.
Boy, that car is getting a bite off the turns. He was down on the inside. When you can do that and pull up beside of somebody else and maintain traction, pull on around them, that means that the car is really working.
That number 26 car is very fast today. It is unbelievable to pass Dale Earnhardt like he did. You know, everybody's seen Dale Earnhardt passing cars all day. I don't think anybody's passed Earnhardt but Ricky Rudd so far today.
Well, statistically speaking, it doesn't favor you if you start outside the top 10 or top 15 here. In the 27-year history of this race, only twice has a driver starting outside the top 15 gone on to win it. Richard Petty did it in 1970, starting 16th, and Tim Richmond did it in 1984, and he started back in 17th spot. The top 10 as we currently have them. Here they are. Rudd is now your new leader. Dale Earnhardt is in 2nd spot. Rusty Wallace is 3rd. Jeff Bodine 4th. Bill Elliott is 5th. 276 laps complete. Alan Kulwicki of Hurley back in 6th. Labonte is 7th. Phil Parsons 8th. Darrell Waltrip 9th. And Davey Allison in 10th. 11th is Alexander. 12th Hillen. Sachs 13th. Then Marlin and Schrader. Rudd now really pulling away. 282 laps complete. Just over 118 laps to go. Rudd is your leader. And the battle now back for 4th spot is Elliott now currently in 5th. Jeff Bodine in 4th. Bodine is the car number 5. That yellow number of Levi Garrett's Chevrolet. And of course, Elliott now chomping away. Makes a move on the inside. A little bit of room for Elliott. And Elliott now half a car length. But Bodine strong on the straightaways. Let's see if Elliott can hang on inside turn 1. Bodine rides it high, gives the opening to Bill Elliott. Elliott on the inside out of turn 2. They are door to door. Bill Elliott now making the move down the backstretch and uses that horsepower to take 4th spot.
But Bodine tries to come back up on the outside, but he can't quite do it that time as Elliott gets a little more bite off the turn. But Bodine's not giving up. I'll say he's racing him hard.
Jeff Bodine, the short track hot shoot from up in New England way, of course, out of Chemung, New York. Bodine cut his teeth on the open wheel modified track. His father, Eli Bodine, owned a modified speedrome up outside of Chemung, and he ran those modified cars for many years prior to making the transition down south to the fender car, the full-bodied stock cars. Bodine having won here before, as we mentioned, in the modified car back in 1980, but yet to go to victory lane here in a Winston Cup car. There's Alvin Kulwicki, his car now being shown back in the 6th spot. Kulwicki back there in the car number 7, the Z-Rex car. Kulwicki now trying to reel in Jeff Bodine. Bodine, of course, 5th. Elliott now in 4th.
We've got a report from the pit radios that Alan Kulwicki has an oil pressure problem. So he's got to be on pins and needles right now. If his oil pressure is dropping, if his oil pressure drops very much, his motor won't last very long at all. He's got to try and maintain positions and pass people, but at the same time be prepared for that oil pressure to go all the way away.
Well, he just took over 5th position there from Jeff Bodine and moved around him with ease. Of course, Jeff's car doesn't seem to be working quite as good now as it did a little bit earlier, and he's another of those drivers that's on the Hoosier tires, and they've run a pretty good while on this green flag run here, and it could be that those tires are heating up and beginning to slide around a little bit on the racetrack.
That's probably the case. Bodine's tire is getting awfully hot, and Kulwicki not concerned with that oil pressure gauge as he has moved inside of Jeff Bodine to take over the 5th spot.
Alan's car always handles well on most any racetrack, but particularly on the short tracks. He's coming up on Bill Elliott. You see Elliott in car number 9 there, and he is picking up on the 4th place car.
Back up front, there is Ricky Rudd moving in on Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip in the Tide, the bright orange, Dayton orange Tide machine, car number 17, as Rudd is the leader. Running 2nd is Dale Earnhardt, and Ricky Rudd working over in the rear of Darrell Waltrip. Let's take a look back at what happened years ago in Winston Cup racing, this Winston Cup replay.
Winston Cup replays are brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters. For Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator. Hickory Speedway, about 40 miles from North Wilkesboro, had racing every Saturday night, but it also attracted what's now the Winston Cup Series. And it brought in the brightest stars of the day, drivers like our own Ned Jarrett and Richard Petty, who was already in his 8th year of competition. He was still learning, though. Dirt tracks were more difficult to qualify on. We see the start of this race from an early version of today's sophisticated in-car camera. Going from pavement to dirt was not easy for some. Curtis Turner drives the number 41. Notice no sponsors and the legendary Tiny Lund, king of the power slide. Here's another spin, getting through Elmo Langley in 64, Turner and Petty. Richard, though, has to make a costly pit stop. David Pearson moved up to challenge Turner for the lead. And at the drop of the checkered flag, David, in a Cotton Owens car, takes home one of his 105 Winston Cup victories.
And Ricky Rudd just going around the car, the 9th place car. That, of course, is Darrell Waltrip, putting Waltrip one lap down. Waltrip trying to hang on, hoping for a yellow flag to get that car dialed in. You heard Benny Parsons talk with Jeff Hammond a little bit ago. They had gotten the car much closer than they were at the beginning of the race, but not quite close enough for that strong muscle, that horsepower machine of Ricky Rudd. As Rudd now goes around the 9th place car and begins to make his way toward the 8th place car, which, of course, would be Phil Parsons.
Boy, that car is just driving so well, and Ricky Rudd is doing such a good job of driving it today. He has worked his way around traffic, been very cautious where he needed to. Here's a battle for second position as Rusty Wallace tries to move up on the outside of Dale Earnhardt, but Wallace gets a little loose as he got on the outside.
Boy, he got a lot loose, Ned. He had it really hung out like almost like a dirt track.
Wallace swatting flies in that race car. Looked like he was swatting flies the way he was wedging that steering wheel back and forth, trying to hang on in turn 3 and 4. And he's a gamer. He kept that car on the racetrack out of turn 3, but he lost some spots back there. 2 car lengths back to Earnhardt. That's a battle for second spot. Earnhardt currently in second position. Wallace a car length back, and their tires really have to be getting hot and going away on them. Wallace slides high again, trying to hang on. Earnhardt's car working on the bottom of the racetrack.
But you know, after a tire slides like that, especially the 2 rear tires on Rusty Wallace's car, they really build up a lot of heat right then at that point, and it takes them a long time to cool off.
And talk about cooling off. One driver who's making his way very slowly and disappointingly back down pit road. He will make that left-hand turn, and it will not be his first win of the season. Alan Kawicki, after a great effort today, Alan Kawicki, 33-year-old driver in the Xerox Ford, takes it to the garage area.
Well, he had moved up in the top 5, Jerry, as we saw him there a few minutes ago, but apparently that oil pressure problem that Gary mentioned has gotten the best of him, and he has to go into the garage area and out of the race.
Well, you know, the thing about it is when a car is running, if it starts to have a problem like oil pressure or just smoking, something going wrong, they usually never get better. Those things always seem to get worse. They don't fix themselves. Eventually something finally lets loose and you have to park it.
Remember now, there's Earnhardt. He is currently being shown in second spot. He has led. Wallace has not led. Rusty Wallace needs to get up there and try to lead a lap, but right now Wallace's tires apparently have gone away. As Ricky Rudd is your leader here at Wilkesboro Speedway, we are approaching the 300 lap mark. Rudd showing the way in the Quaker State Buick. Stay tuned, we'll be back. Speedway, ESPN's Speed World presentation of the NASCAR Winston Cup Holly Farms 400 is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. By Mr. Goodrich. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodrich. No one. And by Purelator, the first name in filters. For pure oil now and pure oil later, it's Purelator. Back at North Wilkesboro Speedway, 304 laps. We are under caution again for debris and oil in the backstretch. And the man who put out the debris, they were engine parts and oil, is standing by with Dick Berggren. Dick?
And Alan Kawicki is here in the garage area. Alan, the motor go?
Yeah, it did. You know, it's really too bad. We're running pretty well and moving up. The Xerox Amoco 4 Thunderbird was running good when we blew an engine.
And that's it for the day. Benny Parsons, has been a lot of activity on pit road as a result of this. What has happened in particular to Ricky Rudd?
You know, Dick Berggren, Larry McReynolds was just telling me. A pit stop, 4 tires, a little over 21 seconds, and guess what?
Got beat by 2 cars. I don't know what to do. More power to them. We just have to outrun them on the racetrack.
I watched your pit stop, Larry. It looked like a fantastic pit stop.
I know it, but them guys down pit road, they've been at it a little longer than us. All we're going to do is just keep working. Like I say, you have a 21-8 and get beat. Ain't nothing you can do but just smile and say, well, they beat us.
Okay, Larry, thanks.
And the two cars that beat him, you guessed it, Earnhardt's crew, the Goodrich crew, and the Rusty Wallace Kodiak crew. As a safety car pulls away, we are under 100 laps to go. Make it 94 laps to the checkered flag at Wilkesboro Speedway. And up front again, that black and silver numeral car number 3, the Goodrich Chevrolet, and green flag waves for Dale Earnhardt. He leads the charge down in turn 1. It's Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, and then the crew chief you just heard from, Larry McReynolds' driver, that's Ricky Rudd. Rudd going around the outside of the car number 17. Remember, Waltrip is showing 1 lap down. Rudd is third, and then, of course, Bill Elliott showing in 4th spot.
Rusty Wallace really working on Dale Earnhardt. I made a wager that they'd put Goodyear tires back on that car number 27, but they didn't. They still have Hoosier tires on it, so I was wrong. He apparently was happy with the Hoosier tires, and right now they're working good for him.
And Rusty Wallace, remember, he needs to lead a lap. He has not led, and now's the best chance he'll have possibly today to lead a lap and to get around Earnhardt. So Wallace saving nothing for the end. He jumps back in that throttle out of turn 4, but he's got a full view of the rear bumper of that Goodrich Chevrolet. Wallace now trying to get some room on the inside, but Earnhardt's car working so well on the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, going into the turns, it looks like that Rusty's able to jump up there on him, but coming off, as you say, Earnhardt's car is working good there, getting good traction at this point of the race, and when you can do that coming off the turns here, you can keep a man behind you.
That's a good shot. You can see the difference in when they hit the gas pedal and when they let off the gas. Right here especially, you can see Rusty Wallace go into the turn a little deeper, but then Dale Earnhardt right here gets on the gas a little sooner, and Rusty starts coming back as they get onto the straightaway.
But look at that green car, Ricky Rudd coming back up there. He had to dispose of Darrell Waltrip, the left car, before he could get up there and start doing battle with them, and Ricky is definitely gaining on him. He's shown all afternoon that he has the fastest car.
Let's take a look at the caution summary. The lap 59, caution number 1, the 21 car, Kyle Petty spun. That lasted 4 laps. An infield emergency for getting one of the crew members out from an accident on pit road, 157 that lap. That was a length for 5 laps. Richard Petty spun on lap 180. The car number 33 of Harry Gant spun on lap 204. And the most recent caution on lap 303 for oil on the backstretch by virtue of the blown engine from Alan Colwick.
Jerry, we have a report that a couple of cars that had switched to Hoosiers have gone back to Goodyear. That's the cars of Terry Labonte, the Budweiser Chevrolet, and Phil Parsons in the Crown Skull Oldsmobile. They tried the Hoosier tires a while, but now they've gone back to Goodyear. Both of those cars still running in the lead lap. At 300 laps, they were being shown in the 7th and 8th position in the lead lap.
Rusty Wallace trying to wedge his way beneath the Dale Earnhardt machine, and he's got it there. And Earnhardt is in the middle groove, and Rusty has the grass and part of the bottom groove out of turn 2. And Rusty will hang in there. Wallace now needs to lead a lap. His car's sideways, but he hangs on, and Rusty Wallace will get that lap as the fans are on their feet, waving and shouting. Loving every lap of it here. These two guys respect each other, and Earnhardt says, hey, I'm back here. As you see pieces of that rear bumper in the Kodiak Pontiac come separated there in turn 2.
I think Dale Earnhardt knocked part of his right front headlight out. You can see the bumper of Rusty Wallace's car caved in, and some pieces of aluminum or something came off of one of the cars as they bumped there.
Now we'll see if Wallace can pull away a little bit from Earnhardt, because Wallace knows how strong Rudd is. He also knows how difficult Earnhardt is to pass. So if Rusty can get a little bit of momentum in that car and pull away somewhat, maybe he can put some distance between himself and that green car, the third-place machine of Ricky Rudd.
And while those 3 cars are battling up there, you can see on the top of the picture there, Bill Elliott's not too far behind. Bill currently running in the 4th position, and right on his back bumper is Jeff Bodine in car number 5. In fact, Bodine is about to try to make a pass on Elliott going into turn 3. Here it is for 4th position. Jeff Bodine down on the inside of Bill Elliott. Bodine gets the traction coming off on the inside and gets the car length, almost the car length out in front, but Elliott tried to come back on the outside.
Bill Elliott's got the momentum up high. He keeps those RPMs up, but Bodine really jumps back in it out of turn 2 on the inside. Bodine has the short way around this 5/8 of a mile oval on Wilkesboro Speedway. They're up on the 14-degree banks in turns 3 and 4. And again, Bodine will have the advantage. That's the Waltrip car, the Tide Chevrolet, that's showing a lap down back in there. This is the battle back for 4th and 5th spot.
Well, Darrell just did lose a lap before that last caution came out. The leaders, he fought and tried to stay in the lead lap. Leader just got around Darrell, then the caution came out for the oil from Alan Kowicki's car. So Darrell was so close to still being on the lead lap.
Well, Rusty Wallace now beginning to pull away from Dale Earnhardt, and Ricky Rudd now doing battle with Earnhardt for the second position as Wallace moves away.
Now Rusty Wallace trying to hang on. Rusty knows how difficult it can be to pass. Rusty was concerned about not having a good record here. Rusty, what's your reaction to knowing Dale Earnhardt has a great record at this racetrack? How about it?
I know that Dale's going to be the toughest, I believe, here at Wilkesboro this week. He's always showed incredible strength here. I've just been so-so, and Elliott has been terrible. So we'll just see what happens. I hope that I've gained a little bit on Dale. I hope that the new body style will be better for me this year here. And I hope that I can gain some points on him. If we win the race, we'll gain the points automatically. That's what I'm hoping to do.
Well, he gained points a week ago. He gained $84,000 and 15 points by virtue of his win at Charlotte. And he would like to gain some more points today. Time is running out. Only 3 events remain. Rockingham a week from today. Of course, then we go to Phoenix for the Checker 500. And then the season curtain call is at Atlanta Speedway, Atlanta International Raceway for the Atlanta Journal 500, all here on ESPN.
One driver, Neil Bonnet, is in the pits in the Valvoline Pontiac, and I believe it's going to be terminal for him. He came in, they looked, there was smoke coming from the right front of the car, and now I believe Neil is going to take it into the garage area. Indeed he is, so Neil Bonnet pulling into the garage out of the race.
It looked like Neil's right front brakes had boiled. The smoke was coming right from the right front wheel area, so I'm sure he doesn't have any brakes.
We got some reports on pit road that Bill Elliott, we saw him a minute ago as he was trying to do battle back there with the Jeff Bodine car. Elliott now being shown back in 5th position, and Elliott's car was really up across the racetrack. There's, of course, the lead car. 2nd is Earnhardt. 3rd is Rudd. Back and forth with Jeff Bodine. And Bill Elliott, the car number 9, showing back and forth. There's Bodine's car coming into the picture. But Elliott's car really having some problems here, Gary, and we're told that the car is extremely loose.
Yeah, you know, it's almost, you know, the car that qualifies on the pole here at Wilkesboro always seems to get loose in the race. I've never really been able to figure it out, but the pole sitter always seems to not be around at the end, at least in contention at the end.
Here's a good battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's Bill Elliott running in 5th, and Terry Labonte and Phil Parsons have both caught him. And with Elliott's car getting a little loose, Labonte got on the inside of him a lap ago, but he turned his car crossways, and Elliott was able to maintain the 5th position. But now Terry Labonte, who has won the last 2 races here in North Wilkesboro, working on Bill Elliott. You see Phil Parsons back there going very high in the turn.
It looks like everybody in that little group right there is a little bit loose, Ned. They're all trying to get some traction. They're all sliding. They're all trying to make up ground, and they're not really getting much accomplished.
Elliott trying to tiptoe through some of the corners. A minute ago, he was running the car hard, and he just sort of dog-walked up across the racetrack, and now Elliott has the middle groove. Phil Parsons up very high, but Elliott does not quite have enough space there to leave for the Terry Labonte car. Labonte now on the bottom of the racetrack. Now Elliott slips up high, and Labonte will take advantage of that move and try to go beneath Elliott, but Elliott is so strong on the front straightaway, on the back straight, so as now they battle. There's Davey Allison coming into the picture. So 4 cars now slipping and sliding out there trying to tiptoe their way and pass each other here at Wilkesboro.
Well, it looked like Labonte definitely has the advantage in turns 3 and 4. Sort of holds his own right here this time in turns 1 and 2. He should be able to get him when they go into turn 3 this next time. Let's see if he can do it down on the inside.
They're door-to-door up in turns 3 and 4. Remember, Terry Labonte has gone back to the Goodyear rubber, and he really gets a good bite off the corner there, so he should be able to pull him by a car length here in turn 1. Elliott hanging low, hanging on the outside, Bodine on the inside, or Terry Labonte on the inside, the Budweiser Chevrolet. And Labonte will have the option. Now battle back there between Davey Allison and Phil Parsons.
Of course, Davey a lap down. Phil Parsons currently running in the 7th position. There are only 7 cars on the lead lap right now. Davey Allison showing in the 9th position. Darrell Waltrip is 1 lap down in 8th position.
So those cars on the lead lap, of course, Rusty Wallace, your leader. Earnhardt is 2nd. Rudd is 3rd. Jeff Bodine is 4th. 5th there you see the Elliott car, and now Elliott has been passed by Terry Labonte. So by Terry Labonte, Labonte will be the 5th place car. Elliott is 6th, and the 7th place car, all those cars in the lead lap, is Phil Parsons.
Well, Phil Parsons right up against the wall. You know, there's so many different grooves everybody's trying, but this is really an example of no grip. These guys just don't have any traction. They're trying anything they can do. Some are running low, some are running high.
And what they're doing, Gary, when they're trying to pick that high groove.
Well, trouble out of turn 2. The leader has gotten involved with Jimmy Means, and Rusty Wallace was trying to get around Jimmy Means, and Means moved high, Wallace moved high, and Means moved to the inside, and the cars came together. And there you see Jimmy Means' Sonny King Ford, Bullseye Barbecue Ford, has tagged that inside wall, and Means loops it back around, gets the car refired, and the Forest City, North Carolina driver will be back on his way. But a tough break. Rusty Wallace at the front of his car getting together with Jimmy Means out of turn 2.
Well, Rusty, he stayed, what is he now, in third position, so he didn't lose that much ground, but the front of his car is bent up. We hope it didn't change the front end alignment.
Well, I'm sure he'll be coming into the pits now, and his crew will take a look at it. Dale Earnhardt leads them down into the pits, and sure enough, here comes all the cars down pit road.
Looks to be minimal damage on the Rusty Wallace Kodiak Pontiac, so we'll check on pit road and see exactly how severely that car is injured, as everybody is on pit road. Rusty Wallace is in for service, and you see him going to work. Let's take a look and see what happened out of turn 2.
Well, we see Rusty trying to move on the inside of Jimmy Means, and Jimmy didn't realize that he was down there. He was going to pull down to the inside of the racetrack and give him room to move on the outside, but Rusty had already made his commitment to move on the inside, and the result was, of course, that Jimmy spins to the inside. Let's go to the pits and Dick Berggren.
Well, Rusty Wallace's car is not badly damaged, but what he has lost here is track position. About 4 or 5 cars beat him out of the pit area. It was simply a slow stop. No real reason for it. They didn't do any special work on the right front of that car other than to take a look at it. But Rusty got beaten coming out of the pits, and Earnhardt, as usual, was the first guy on the racetrack.
Well, a tough break for Rusty Wallace. There's Jimmy Means coming back down pit road as he heads back on the speedway. His car has apparently mostly sheet metal damage up front. Judy Dunlap, the car owner there for Jimmy Means. And, of course, Jimmy was trying to move down on the inside, as you said, and then out of turn 2. His car had been slipping high as well, and Jimmy just had to let the car set and pull it down off the racetrack. And before he could do it, as quickly as Wallace was running, he was already to the inside of Means, and the cars came together. Here's the leader, Dale Earnhardt, in the Goodrich Chevrolet, back up front in the usual and customary position. 337 laps in the rules. If you are on the lead lap, you can pull up on the outside. As you've seen, the cars on the outside of that row are the lead cars on the lead lap. There's Earnhardt, and of course Ricky Rudd right behind Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Terry Labonte. There's Bill Elliott, Phil Parsons, and the 7th car on the lead lap is Rusty Wallace. So he only has 6 cars to pass, only 6, but a pretty potent 6 up front.
Well, that's 6 cars as far as position is concerned. Of course, all those cars down on the inside, many of them are just 1 lap down. They're going to be trying to get their lap back, so they're going to be racing hard, racing each other hard. So Rusty's going to have to pass some of those as well as the green flag flies.
Less than 60 laps remain here in the Wilkesboro Speedway in the Holly Farms 400. 341 laps that time by 59 to go. And the man they're chasing, of course, car number 3, the Goodrich Chevrolet for Dale Earnhardt. And Rudd really strong out of turn 3.
Well, look at that heavy traffic from inside of Dale Jarrett's car. It's just like they haven't changed any positions. They're just running side by side, but they're flat out. Some sheet metal came off of somebody's car.
There's Morgan Shepherd right in front of Dale Jarrett. Mark Martin going by on the outside. You see Kyle Petty, Sicko Ford way up on the outside. Morgan Shepherd just trying to get a chance to get on the outside. That's where he's been running all day. Now we move to the inside and see Dale Jarrett moving around the track.
Get an idea of Dale, that steering wheel trying to turn the car down in the corners, and looked like possibly Earnhardt would pull away a little bit, but now Rudd has settled in and begins to reel him in somewhat.
Well, Rudd's got to be a little relieved after this round of pit stops. There's only 1 car in front of him. It's been 2 cars each time. You know, with Rusty Wallace being involved in the accident, he's way back in the traffic here. He's got a lot of ground to make up. He's not sure about his front end alignment. You know, when he hit that car of Jimmy Means, it bent the front end alignment. It towed the car in. A front steer car, like Rusty runs, always tows in when they get bent. A rear steer car, like the other guys, always tow out. Tow out would be more preferable, I think, so that's why they came in and made that adjustment. We'll see how good of a job they did on it.
And Gary, your reference to front and rear steer means that the steering mechanism is either in front of or behind the ball joint in the front of the car. So it's a different mechanism, it's different geometry that's been used. The cars that have won primarily on the short tracks over the years have been rear steer cars. But of recent note, the past 4 or 5 years, the Speedway cars that run so well have been the newer front steer geometry. And of course, the cars up front there mostly are front steer cars now.
Yeah, you're right. It really goes back and forth. It's almost like fashions, I think. It's like one year there's a lot of front steer cars doing well. Later there's a lot of rear steer cars doing very well. It goes back and forth as the years go on. The thing about it is the tie rods that connect the two front wheels together, and that's when you turn the steering wheel. That's what causes the car to turn. When a front steer car gets hit on the wheel, like Rusty's did, it bends the tie rod, and any bend in that tie rod will cause it to toe in since it is in the front of the axle.
Well, Rusty Wallace, you see him there. He is in gridlock back there in that lap traffic. He is trying to work behind the Sterling Marlin car. Lake Speed's car to the right of the 83 car is Lake Speed, 44 is Sterling Marlin. And Rusty's car is certainly not as strong. His car is slipping a little bit out of the corners. He just can't get the bike, Ned.
Well, and he's having to do it on the outside, and that's not where he likes to run. His car is set up to run on the inside of the racetrack, but in order to lap these cars, he has to move on the outside. As we see Phil Parsons there trying to take over the 5th position from Bill Elliott right in front of Rusty Wallace. Now Rusty moves down to the inside, or tries to at least, of Lake Speed. That's where he wants to run.
Rusty Wallace back in the pack now, still 7th on the field. But up front, it's Earnhardt, and then Ricky Rudd, and one guy creeping up there is Jeff Bodine. The final laps of the Holly Farms 400 when we come back. There are your lead cars back in the Wilkesboro Speedway. 353 laps in the books, 47 to go to the checkered flag here for the Holly Farms 400. And Dale Earnhardt trying to hold off the challenge of Ricky Rudd. But back in the pack, they're battling, mixing it up. And there is Bill Elliott, the man who currently leads the points. And Rusty Wallace doing everything he can to pull on the inside of Elliott. That's a battle back for 6th position. Just in front of them, Phil Parsons had just gone by Bill Elliott to take 5th spot. And now Rusty Wallace moves to the inside of Elliott up in turn 4.
And he looked like he's going to be able to make that pass. Wallace gets loose, though. He breaks the back end of the car loose. He got on the gas a little bit too soon, but he's going to drive her hard back down into turn 1, staying down on the inside. Let's see if he can get traction this time as he heads off in turn 2. At least he's going to go down the backstretch, or up the backstretch, I should say, side by side with Bill Elliott.
Gary, both these drivers are just battling bucking Broncos out there, ill-handling race cars. It looks like that the Elliott car is extremely loose, and Rusty's car, he just can't get it by off the corner. They're both back and forth, sawing that steering wheel.
Well, you know, with Rusty's car, the toe out or the front, the wheels probably aren't agreeing. The front wheels aren't agreeing on where they want to go right now. The toe in, the alignment is off, so that means there's some drag on the front wheels. And when he hits the gas, like right there, the rear wheels are trying to pass the front ones because the rear wheels are still running pretty free, but the front wheels are almost like having front brakes on.
Now Rusty finally makes the pass, and up in front of him, Phil Parsons has already disposed of Terry Labonte in the red and white number 11 car there, so that will move Phil Parsons into the 4th position. Labonte is running 5th. Now Rusty Wallace in 6th, and Bill Elliott running in 7th position.
Up front, and the battle heats up a little bit up front as Earnhardt now trying to hold off, and he gets a little bit of a tap from Ricky Rudd. Earnhardt's still out of shape, and Rudd will have the inside move. Let's see if Earnhardt can get back at him, but no, Rudd pushes the pedal and goes by. They head for turn 1, and Earnhardt says, okay, it's my turn. Up turn 1, and here he goes. Rudd goes around. Earnhardt is on the brakes, Bodine's on the brakes, and Rudd is spun, and yellow flag. Well, that's interesting, Ned. Yep. It's tap 1, tap 2.
Watch and see what NASCAR does here. This is poor Ricky Rudd. Has been so strong all day, but he knows as well as everybody knows when you mess with Dale Earnhardt, it's like messing with a hornet's nest.
Well, Dale Earnhardt, he got a nudge up until, let's take a look and see what happened now. This is the second nudge, apparently, down in turn 1. Now, Rudd had already gotten with Earnhardt, Ned.
He'd already gotten around him, and to go into turn 1, Rudd moves down on the inside. Earnhardt runs in there behind him a little bit harder than Rudd does, tries to dip down on the inside, taps him just a little bit, gets Rudd sideways, and on around he goes.
Earnhardt is hard on the brakes there, trying to keep him getting around in the door.
And we understand that they're going to put both of those drivers at the end of the lead pack. Now, they'll be coming down making pit stops now, but each of them did a little bit of bumping. Rudd bumped Earnhardt first going into turn 3, made the pass. And let's go to Dick Berger now in Dale Earnhardt's pits.
Well, Ned Jarrett, if whatever bumping went on was certainly minor in nature, I can see the front of Dale Earnhardt's car, and it's just not damaged at all. There's just a little bit of a scratch up there, and that's part of short track racing. The left side, however, is well damaged. Benny Parsons, what's going on to you?
I'm down the Ricky Rudd pit. They're changing 4 tires. The only indication of anything that might have happened was just a moment ago. Larry McReynolds kind of shook at his fist at Dale Earnhardt as he drove by.
There's going to be a lot of fist shaking going on between those two before today's over, I'm sure.
Well, it's heating up here in North Wilkesboro. It's a cool, crisp fall afternoon, and the leaves are changing and the tempers are flaring as we're getting down to the last few laps of the Holly Farms 400. And Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd going at it, 2 of the stronger cars. And there is Earnhardt now back on the racetrack as he has had a tire change. And NASCAR has effectively slapped them both on the hand by putting them, I guess, or we understand they are planning possibly to put them back on the tail end of the lead lap.
Well,
we'll wait and see what happens.
I don't think that's happening, Jerry, because Earnhardt now is going back up to the head of the pack. He's leading the race, and they did not motion him to go to the back, at least not at this point.
Oh,
now he's slowing up as Bodine goes around him. So we are showing now less than 40 laps to go here at Wilkesboro Speedway, and the leader showing is Jeff Bodine now. Bodine pulling up behind the safety car, and of course his teammate there, Kenny Schrader, who's being shown a lap down. Schrader was showing in 10th spot, 1 lap down, trying to relinquish that front spot, so Bodine will be the leader of note when we go back to green.
And this crowd is absolutely going wild about the circumstances here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Well, they like it. We're getting ready to go back to green here. They're on their feet for the final few laps. We're winding down. And Harold Kender flips those yellow lights out and waves that green flag. Hold on to your seats, folks. It's not over yet because Bodine is up front, but those are the cars we're watching as they go to turn 1. Rudd on the outside of Darrell Waltrip. A little bit of slipping and sliding by Kenny Schrader. And Schrader now the lap car on the inside gives way. And Bodine and Terry Labonte, the man who has won the last 2 events here at Wilkesboro Speedway. We haven't talked much about Labonte, but he certainly is a sleeper and in a strong car late in the race.
Yes, he's been right up in top 10 all day, finally moved into the top 5, and now into 2nd position.
Apparently what NASCAR did was they put Dale Earnhardt back to the position just ahead of Ricky Rudd because they restarted the race right together in the middle of the pack.
Well, I tell you, I don't know. Where Earnhardt and Rudd both have to be steaming inside those cars. We see a little smoke coming out of those cars. It's got to be coming out from beneath the helmets of both those drivers because they are making their way to the front in a hurry. There is Rusty Wallace, and there is Earnhardt and Rudd as they go around the outside of Bobby Hilton's car. They're trying to realize both of them have a shot at winning. Earnhardt has a shot at possibly a Winston Cup title. They can't throw that away, and they are trying to make their way to the front. Hilton's car running pretty stout. Earnhardt makes the outside move, and will go around Bobby Hilton.
Well, Rudd tried to follow Hilton, thought maybe he might be able to pull on the inside, but that wouldn't quite work. Let's go to the pits where Dick Berggren is with Richard Childers, Dale Earnhardt's car owner.
Well, Richard, what was the exact nature of the penalty? What did NASCAR say to you?
I don't know. They just wanted to move back there. I couldn't see what happened. I just can't comment on it right now. I don't know what happened.
What did Dale say to you when you told him he had to go in the back of the pack?
He wanted to know why. He said Ricky spun him up 3 and he bumped him down here, so I don't know what happened.
That's Richard Childers. He owns car number 3 that's just been penalized and put into the back of the pack.
Well, that's exactly what happened. Ricky did bump Dale going into turn 3. Didn't spin him out, but he got him crossways, made the pass, and then Earnhardt just retaliated down in turn 1. Here's a battle for 2nd place. There's the leader, Jeff Bodine, the yellow and white car, but here's Rusty Wallace in the 27 car trying to take over 2nd.
Remember, Rusty has that toe-in problem in the front of the car, and you got to really give a hand to Rusty Wallace. He's driving the car all out here in these final laps at North Wilkesboro. Wallace makes the move on the inside of Terry Labonte and will take over the 2nd spot.
Now, does he have enough strength to catch Jeff Bodine? The laps are winding down here in North Wilkesboro, but Wallace's car does not seem to be affected too much, Gary, by that problem they had there a little earlier.
No, he looks awful strong right here. Very strong, Rusty Wallace. I think he is gaining on Jeff Bodine.
Well, now Ricky Rudd has moved around Dale Earnhardt and has taken over the 6th position. They were back in 6th and 7th, but it was reversed. And Rudd has moved around Earnhardt. And see what what he can do about those top 5 up in front of him.
Well, I'm sure Larry McReynolds had just radioed Ricky Rudd and said, hey, partner, we got 29 laps to catch a bunch of race cars, so you better get on it. And Rudd zipped by Earnhardt, and now he is currently being shown in 6th position. He just got a glimpse of Phil Parsons' car. Phil is in front of him. He's in 5th spot, and Rudd makes his way to turn 1. 28 laps to go in the Wilkesboro. Ricky Rudd in 6th, Dale Earnhardt in 7th. The leader back up front is Jeff Bodine. Jeff Bodine, who has never won here at this Wilkesboro Speedway. He is trying to hang on. He knows these two guys back there chomping at the bit.
Well, Ricky Rudd was 3.5 seconds behind the last time around, Jerry, and he's still 3.5 seconds behind the leader, Jeff Bodine. And I'll tell you, that's going to be awfully tough to make up here on a 5/8 mile racetrack.
Back up front, the lead car, Jeff Bodine. There is Bodine, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet, showing the way here. Some 15 car lengths over Rusty Wallace. Well, a brand new renovated Wilkesboro Speedway. All kinds of renovations as we show you in this ESPN Track Fact.
Track Facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
North Wilkesboro Speedway opened in 1961. And it was a rather unique layout, a downhill front straightaway and an uphill backstretch. But the real concern at this racetrack was the treacherous pit road. The drivers just did not have enough room to pit. They would double up on caution flag pit stops. It was so congested that the crews were actually afraid. They were very concerned. Well, that is no more. Now, a brand new pit road, and more importantly, for the first time ever, a pit wall that separates the cars from the crews. And a beautiful brand new garage area. A dugout area between turns 1 and 2, a covered garage area for each individual team and driver. This one-of-a-kind victory lane here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, unique to stock car racing. This hydraulic lift, you simply roll the winning car and driver on the lift. It picks the car and puts it right up on top of the infield media center here on this beautiful checkered flag floor for all the fans to see. Quite a spectacle here at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Just over 20 laps to go. Who will get to be on that lift and be in victory lane? Well, right now it's Jeff Bodine showing the way here as the laps wind down. Stay tuned. In Wilkesboro Speedway, 15 laps remain here in the Holly Farms 400, and Jeff Bodine is showing the way. Bodine, the left of your screen, that white, yellow numeral, car number 5, and the interval between Bodine and the Rusty Wallace, 1 second. As Wallace trying to reel in Bodine. Remember, Wallace had that front end problem. As there's Bodine, the left of your screen, the leader, and Rusty Wallace currently running in 2nd spot. Let's check the interval coming out of turn 4 and see if Rusty is catching him at all. As they come across, there's Bodine. 0.6 of a second as the laps are winding down. Rusty trying to win this race here at the Wilkesboro Speedway, battling this man here. Bill Elliott is on the outside of Terry Labonte, and there is Ricky Rudd. They are battling back for 4th spot. Labonte is 4th, Elliott is 5th, and Elliott trying to take that 4th spot away. Bill Elliott up on the outside of the racetrack coming out of turn 4. Ricky Rudd has the best seat in the house for that battle. Rudd trying to decide, well, do I stay behind Labonte or do I follow Elliott? And now Rudd says, well, I'll make my own groove on the inside, but there's no room there at all coming out of turn 2.
Not enough room down there on the inside. Labonte continued to hold that inside groove, but it seems like the second groove, or the outside groove, is working better right now, so Ricky Rudd decides he'll try that, but Bill Elliott hasn't made the pass totally yet.
You got to be able to almost see the frustration in Ricky Rudd.
And Dave Marcus pins Dale Jarrett coming off of turn 4.
Right in front of the leaders. Here comes Jeff Bodine and Rusty Wallace, who
Marcus got under Jarrett as he started off of the turn and got him crossways, and of course the caution comes out again.
Boy, what do you do now? If you're the crew chief, do you get tired? Do you stay out? Boy, it's going to be a lot of strategy right here.
Well, I tell you, I really can't imagine, as tough as traffic has been here, someone taking a chance of coming in, particularly the top 2 or 3 cars.
The top few should stay out. The ones in the back should come in.
Yeah.
If the leader comes in, the ones in the back should stay out.
Well, Ernie Elliott is standing on pit road with a pit board waiting for Bill Elliott. So, and also Terry Labonte's crew is out there waiting for his car, and Rusty Wallace's crew. Harold Elliott, the engine builder. There's the Elliott crew. And here comes Labonte, and here comes Dale Earnhardt down pit road.
Yeah, they had nothing to lose. They were going backwards. Earnhardt was back in 7th place, the last car on the lead lap, so he had no choice but to come in, and Labonte was going backwards as well.
Right side tires for the Goodrich and Budweiser crews, pitting nose to tail. Junior Johnson, the big gentleman there in the front of the car. as the laps wind down here in the Wilkesboro Speedway. We're under caution. Who will win it? Jeff Bodine currently.
Well, there's trouble up in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt trying to come up through the field has spun around and several cars taken up in the melee.
Oh, they just restarted the race, and all of a sudden Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt got together.
Well, we might say what happened exactly. Earnhardt and Labonte came in and pitted and took on 4 fresh tires. Among the cars that didn't, well, none of the other leaders came in. Now, Rusty Wallace had actually beat Jeff Bodine back to the start-finish line when the Dale Jarrett car spun. So when we came back to green flag just a minute ago, Rusty Wallace was the leader and remains the leader. There's Wallace as the leader, Jeff Bodine in second spot. Now, Earnhardt comes bulleting up through the field with those fresh tires, and as he went on the outside in turn 3 and 4, Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd came together. Earnhardt's car spun around, tapped the outside retaining wall, and we are again, for the 9th time of the day, under the yellow flag.
And here's Michael Waltrip. He really got the worst end of that whole thing, I think, Jerry. The tires are just headed out, and apparently he has a steering arm broke or bent very badly. Let's see if we can see what did happen as they went into turn 3.
Earnhardt trying to move on the outside just to the right of your screen, and he gets together. There's Rudd and Labonte trying to miss Earnhardt up high. He is already spinning. Here comes Rick Wilson in the car number 4 by. Everybody trying to get on the binders. There's Lake Speed, Mark Martin, and Mark Martin just gets by. And, of course, Martin's car is the one that nudges the side of the Mike Waltrip car. So Waltrip's car got some of that damage on the left front or the right front of his car from the toe in. But we're ready for green once again. Laps are winding down.
Just had a wreck on a backstretch. Bobby Hill and ran into the back of Lake Speed, who ran into the back of Dale Earnhardt.
We're showing 4 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on to your seats. It's winding down here.
It's far from over yet. These guys are anxious.
4 laps. They got to come by us 4 times. Can they do it? Green flag, and Rusty Wallace trying to pick up his 2nd win in a row after winning at Charlotte Motor Speedway a week ago. Wallace leads the charge in turn 1. Wallace, the leader by 2 car lengths over Jeff Bodine. Bodine is 2nd. 3rd place, a strong effort by Phil Parsons. And here comes Bill Elliott in 4th. Elliott, the right of your screen, in the car number 9.
And Terry Labonte with fresh tires on right behind Bill Elliott. He's just looking for a place to go because those fresher tires is better for him, but he didn't have any running room.
Jeff Bodine right on the bumper of Rusty Wallace. You know, Jeff's got to be upset with himself for not racing Rusty to the line, because Jeff really was the leader when the caution came out. White
flag this time by. Final lap. Can Jeff Bodine catch Rusty Wallace? And he nudges him in turns 1 and 2. Wallace a little bit out of shape. Bodine back on the inside. They are door to door. Down for the white flag. Final time. Here's Wallace back on the inside. And he nudges Jeff Bodine in turns 3 and 4. The crowd on their feet. It will be sideways. Rusty Wallace will win it here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I mean, they are on their feet, ladies and gentlemen, for an outstanding finish.
What a finish.
Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine.
Oh, Jeff Bodine passes Rusty Wallace, and Rusty passes it back using the same tactics.
Now the drivers pull up door to door and talk a little bit back and forth and about what a nice day each of them had.
Sign language.
Yeah,
it almost looked like Phil Parsons beat Jeff for 2nd.
Yeah, I'm sure they told each other they were number 1 there. And now Rusty Wallace will make that left-hand turn as they try to find victory lane here. It's a new victory lane, as we mentioned, and Rusty will be headed up to the ramp to victory lane. Rusty Wallace takes the win here at the Wilkesboro Speedway in the Holly Farms 400. A final few laps here. Unbelievable finish as Wallace wins it, and Jeff Bodine is 2nd. Wallace, 2nd win in a row. Stay tuned. Victory lane coming back. Well, the Holly Farms 400 is history, and I think they have made history here today at the Wilkesboro Speedway at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Let's take a look at this last lap and a half. A lot of folks can't believe what they saw. Here's Rusty Wallace leading the race, coming by for the white flag. Going into turn 1, looks like Jeff Bodine trying to pull up on the inside of him, Ned. And Bodine just moving to the inside as they head down the back straightaway. They're going to take the white flag here in turn 3. The turn 4 as they come out of turn 4, Ned.
They are coming off of turn 4 now for the white flag. Bodine right on the back bumper of Rusty. Looked like Rusty got a little loose there as they go into turn 1. Bodine drives a little bit deeper into the turn. He hits Wallace, gets him crossways, drives it on the inside, and takes the lead as they go up the backstretch here at North Wilkesboro. Wallace backs off, lets him go, and then comes back in and reciprocates, gets Bodine sideways. Wallace gets down on the inside, takes the lead. Here comes Phil Parsons down on the inside, and he will beat Jeff Bodine back to the start-finish line for second place.
So we amend that finish, and it will be Rusty Wallace as the winner. Phil Parsons will take second spot. And, of course, in Victory Lane, this Winner's Circle interview is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And there was a difference those past few laps. There's Rusty Wallace getting ready to climb out. Let's go down there with Dick Berggren. Dick?
Well, Rusty had quite a last lap in there.
It was a tight last lap, there's no doubt about that. You know, Jeff ran a super race, and so did Darrell Walsh and Jeff Bodine, and I'll tell you, Ricky Rudd really had a good car, but we brought the Kodiak Pontiac home #1. You know, that's what it's all about in this Winston Cup chase, and that's close racing, a little closer than I like, but you know, you got to get the job done.
You had a damaged front end of the car, Rusty. How bad was that?
Well, Jimmy Means and I got together down there. I tried to go underneath him, and he didn't see me down there, and we just got together, and that was it. And I thought that was it because the toe end was knocked out real bad, and we got it fixed. But it was an exciting race. I'm really proud to win at North Wilkesboro because this is such a beautiful racetrack. Enix Stale and NASCAR done a super job up here.
Tell us about the race back to the line where you beat Bodine.
Well, it was a real race. You know, in the last caution flag, Barry says keep a race, and we haven't took the caution yet, and I beat him back there, and that's what won me the race.
Rusty Wallace here in Victory Lane, high atop the main stand in the infield area. They've raised his car up on a platform. Rusty being congratulated by his crew and everybody else here.
Rusty Wallace picks up his 4th win of the year, his 8th career win, and of course he moves even closer to Bill Elliott in that coveted Winston Cup point title. We'll tell you how close it is when we come back. Anyway, people are still standing in the stands, shaking their head. They're sort of numb after those last couple laps. I think it's worth one more look to see exactly what happened. Let's take a look. Going into turn 1 here, Jeff Bodine, the car number 5, currently running in second spot behind Rusty Wallace. Now, Wallace has a half a car length going into 1. Short track racing at its finest. These cars will run again, probably no more. And a Bodine, the rear bumper, shoving a little bit for Rusty Wallace. Now, Wallace a little bit out of shape, gets the car. He's trying to gather the car back in, but there's the open door for Bodine. Bodine slides by on the inside of the racetrack. Heads down the backstretch. Now Wallace is back in the full throttle. He has gotten the car straightened out, but Bodine has already made his move by. But Wallace is not through. It's his turn. In turn 3, front bumper, Pontiac to Chevrolet, Kodiak to Levi Garrett, and Bodine trying to hang on. All that tire smoke as he drifts up high. Rusty Wallace will make the move inside of turn 4, and here comes Phil Parsons. He will sneak by about 3 feet and finish second. What a finish here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Our Goodyear driver of the race, well, there he is in Victory Lane, Rusty Wallace, for his efforts from coming back from adversity so many times today. And a tough day for Rusty Wallace. And a driver who's had even a tougher day, standing by with our Benny Parsons, is Jeff Bodine.
Jeff, it was a long day, but looked like it was going to be a good day there for a moment. You tell us what happened that last lap and a half.
Well, the last lap and a half, I guess that is really what the race boiled down to. It's amazing to me how these 400-lap or 500-mile races can come down to those last few laps to decide the whole race. It doesn't matter what you did in the beginning of the race. It was just at the end. And we got blocked when a car spun out coming off turn 4, and I was leading a race, and I went to go around Ernie Irvin, and he didn't do it on purpose, but he got my way, and I couldn't get to the finish line. And Rusty and I both went to the inside, and Rusty beat me by, what, an inch or so. That put him ahead on that restart, and that's a good place to be here at Wilkesboro on a restart with, what, 5 or 6, 7 laps to go. And we took off, and it looked like Rusty slowed his pace down to try to protect that inside. He knew we were there, and we could get up underneath him. It'd be all over. He slowed down so much it let me catch up, let me run better. Coming into the first corner on the last lap, he got a little wiggly, tried to really hold it down tight, wiggle a little bit, and I bumped him. Of course, that made him wiggle a little bit more, and I slid underneath him. Going in the third corner, I thought I had it made. Just one corner to go. Just get through 3 and 4 and get to the finish line, and you got it. And next thing I knew, I was sideways. And I was low on the racetrack. I don't believe he got underneath me, but I just ended up sideways and broad slid through the whole corner. I guess I'm lucky I didn't spin out and cause a wreck. Your brother, Phil Parsons, beat me to the line. He ended up second. I ended up third. So we lost a couple spots there in just one corner. But it was a great race. The Levi Garrett car run good, and
you know, we're proud that both Conwood cars are up front. Rusty Kodiak cars in Victory Lane were third. It was a good day for Conwood.
And there's another car, tobacco car, finished second, and Dick Bergen was him right now, Phil Parsons.
Yeah, and Phil's with his wife, Marcia. Phil, what a good run today. You really ran strong.
Well, thank you. We really ran pretty well all day, but we made a tire change early in the race and got really back behind the leader, so we never were up front to show it. But Richard and all the guys kept plugging. We changed tire brands 4 times during the race, and I told Richard about a month ago, I said, Richard, you know, hang in there, we'll have a good run, because we've had some incredible bad luck, especially here lately, but with Richard just about all year. And I told him, we said, we'll get us a good run one of these days, and we got it for him today.
You thought you had a shot to win this thing toward the end.
Well, I really did. I knew, you know, Bodine got in the Rusty. It looked to me like going in one, nudged him a little bit to get him out of shape and got around him. So I said, well, Rusty's going to return the favor going in 3 here. And I said, if I can get close enough, if they can get enough out of shape, we're going to win this thing. But Bodine got enough out of shape that we beat him, but Rusty didn't get enough out of shape.
And that's what being a smart race driver is all about, playing the odds and watching your competition.
An impressive performance by Phil Parsons indeed, changing tires and holding on all afternoon. An impressive afternoon, Ned. Tremendous effort by a lot of people.
Boy, it really was, Jerry. I can't wait till we get to the North Carolina Motor Speedway at Rockingham next Sunday.
They got to be selling tickets right now. We'll be there to carry it on ESPN. Rusty Wallace takes the Holly Farm 400. Phil Parsons is second. Jeffrey Bodine will finish third. Bill Elliott is fourth. And Terry Labonte is fifth. The results and the point standings when we come back. Holly Farms 400 is history, and Rusty Wallace has won it. And we were watching that last lap battle between, of course, Jeff Bodine and Rusty Wallace. There was another battle going on back for 4th spot. Let's take a look. Here is the 4th place car, Terry Labonte. Elliott trying to get by him. Elliott currently in 5th. And Kenny Schrader in front of Labonte. He can't get by. And Elliott dirt tracking out of turn 4. All that smoke. And Elliott still will finish in 5th spot. A good effort by Bill Elliott, and he's standing by in the garage area.
Bill, I didn't know you were a dirt track racer.
Well, I try not to be. You know, there at the end, we didn't change tires, decided to stay out. And I was just trying to beat Labonte back to the line. But, you know, still we had a great day. You know, the Coors Motorcraft Thunderbird did a good job all day long. You know, we went out and we did what we needed to do. We led some. We run good most of the day. I kept having troubles. Either the car would be tight or it'd be loose. I never could get what I needed in the middle. And, you know, we worked hard on it all day. But, you know, still, Rusty ran a great race, come up winning the race. And, you know, as many cars as still left running there in the lead lap, I didn't feel too bad about today.
You came out of the race with an 89-point lead. You're going to 3 racetracks that basically you've always done very well at. How do you think? Is that enough?
Well, you know, what is enough? We won't know till the end of the year. And the thing of it is, Rusty's running good right now, but I feel like we're strong at those places too. And the main thing we got to do is go out and run hard. And if we fall out, you know, no matter what, if it's 100 points or whatever, you know, he'll win a championship. If not, we'll win it.
Bill, good luck. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Outstanding effort by Bill Elliott. He will finish in 5th, as we said. And the point championship, let's take a look and see how the points break down now. 4,028 points for Bill Elliott, 3,939. A difference of only 89 points now. So Rusty Wallace has gained an additional 20 points today. He gained 15 last week. That's 35 points he's gained on Bill Elliott in 2 races. And Dale Earnhardt, of course, he will drop back some, finishing in 6th. 3,840 points. He is now 99 points behind 2nd place Rusty Wallace. So with the Holly Farms 400 history now and Rusty Wallace closing in on Bill Elliott, we will have the road to the Winston Cup. What's coming up next? Next Sunday on ESPN. We'll tell you about it when we come back. ESPN Speed World presentation of the NASCAR Winston Cup Holly Farms 400 has been brought to you by Pontiac. We build excitement. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. By Champion Spark Plug Company. And by Zerex, the antifreeze coolant for extreme conditions. Coming up at 4:30 today, of course, the next to the final kart event. Danny Sullivan on the front row out there, along with Mario Andretti. Al Unser Jr. starting 3rd, Bobby Rahal 4th. And Danny Sullivan can clinch his first kart IndyCar Series World Championship by winning that event today. Of course, next week here on ESPN at the North Carolina Motor Speedway, the road to the Winston Cup continues from Rockingham, North Carolina. 12:30 p.m. start. Eastern Time, 9:30 Pacific Time. The NASCAR Winston Cup AC Delco 500. And the battle will continue. These two guys will be there, Jeff Bodine and Rusty Wallace, to go at it again. 3 rounds remain in the $18 million road to the Winston Cup. And only 80 points separate Bill Elliott from Rusty Wallace. For Ned Jarrett and Gary Nelson, Benny Parsons, and Dick Berggren, I'm Jerry Punch saying thanks for joining us. So long, everybody, from North Wilkesboro Speedway.